Well, here we are as things have been heating up this season, heading back to Stavlo, Belgium. That's right, folks. We are at the beautiful Spa-Francorchamps racetrack out here in the GT3 cars for another great day of AMX 5 Season 5 Sim Racing World Championship. So things have been heating up. We've had a back and forth between a few of the drivers, but it's been Simone Seminara so far all season long. Welcome back, everybody. This is Season 5, Week 5. A lot of fives going on here today. I am Kevin, and we have a very special guest up here in the booth today. Julian, welcome. We love having you. I'm excited to see what goes on today.
Well, thank you very much for having me. Hello, everyone. I'm Julian. First time here. Very excited, but also very nervous about this. We'll see how it goes. Hopefully it goes better than I expect, but great race around Spa I'm hoping for.
Absolutely. It's always a great time out here, especially on the bread and butter of Assetto Corsa Competizione, the GT3 class. But before we get into that, folks, make sure to follow all of our social media on the screen. Get highlights, updates, replays, a lot to be seen there, as well as head over to amxrace.com, get our full schedule, as well as get yourself signed up to head into some of these races. So before we get into our qualifying for today, we have a few things to go over. Mainly this season, we have a couple different changes, a few things. We listen to the fans, we listen to the drivers, and this is what we got going on for Season 5. So we've been out here a few weeks already. We started back on May 25th, and we're going all the way in through August 18th, with this season's prize pool being a total of $15,000, as well as next level racing gear. So the race format goes as follows for our Assetto Corsa Competizione. We have a 20-minute qualifier that will then lead into a 40-minute race, and the drivers do have one mandatory pit stop. So that's going to definitely come into what their strategy will be. We've seen races won and lost in that pit stop. Driver cams are required. You can get the link via our AMX Discord or on our website. And payouts are done in balances over $100 every single month. So once you hit that $100 threshold, expect to see some money headed your way. We're here every weekend this season, folks. That's right, every Saturday and Sunday we are out here live racing. So once again, get signed up to race or get the full schedule and more info over at amxrace.com. We start up every Saturdays and Sundays, like I mentioned, 5:50 p.m. GMT, followed by another race, followed right after at 7:20. And this season we have every other week. We're switching it up. On 1 week, we will have Assetto Corsa Competizione, and on the off weeks, we will have AMX 0 at 5:50 p.m., followed by AMX 20 at 7 p.m. So AMX 20, all new for this season. It's been good so far. Make sure you tune in next week for that as well, folks. So speaking of Assetto Corsa Competizione, how it differs compared to some of our AMX 5 iRacing races, out here you will lay it all on the line for that main heat, with first place taking home $45, second going down to $30, third $27, and so on all the way down to 15th place, with the fastest lap getting an extra $4, with a total prize pool per race of $250. So Assetto Corsa Competizione, you have it on that one heat to make sure you get out there. And like we said, you want to join in, make yourself a little extra money on the side. We'd love to have you. The more the merrier out here at AMX. So we do have one thing going on right now. That is a current promotion going on. So although we're a few weeks into this, you can still save yourself some money if you want to join in on the rest of the season. Save 40% with a season pass for AMX 5 iRacing, AMX 5 ACC, as well as the all-new AMX 20 this season. Like we said, some of those, especially the AMX 20, higher prize pools, a lot more on the line this season. Make sure to head over to amxrace.com, get the full info on that. And like we mentioned, today we are at Spa. So, Julian, make sure to, how about you let us know a little bit more, tell the folks at home exactly where we're at and what we're driving today.
Well, we're in the Belgium countryside in Stavlo. Spa first opened in 1921 with a length of just over 7 kilometers long, 20 corners, 10 to the right and 9 to the left.
Awesome, right? I love it too. So like you said, Stavlo. So originally opened in 1921. It has a length of just over 7 kilometers, so almost 7 kilometers right on the dot. I know this is definitely one of those famous in F1, famous in WEC. We have the 24 hours of Spa coming up this summer too, so no, we'll have to stick around for that. Like we mentioned earlier, we do have the GT3s coming in as well.
And when it comes to the GT3 class, rear-wheel drive, very tricky on throttle, between 500 and 600 horsepower going to those rear wheels, with a weight just over 1200 kilos and up to 300 kilos, with the gearbox being a sequential gearbox. These things pack a lot of power and have a mighty punch out of corners.
So like we said, the GT3 cars, those are the bread and butter out here for Assetto Corsa Competizione, as well as a lot of these same guys. You know, we'll see them from time to time in iRacing as well. But thanks for that intro, Julian. And now we're going to go into qualifying, a check on our drivers, and see how they're doing so far. So like we've mentioned, so far this season, we've had all eyes on one man, and that would be Simone Seminara. He came in last season coming in hot, but unfortunately was just shy of the championship. And this season, it looks like he definitely has that championship locked in. He is gunning for it, and we'll have to just wait and see with a few weeks left of the ACC. You know, we're about halfway there, if he will be able to hold on to it, or if we're going to have someone have an upset.
Yeah, in the BMW, he's heading around the Fender chicane right now until racing around Spa or commentating around Spa. So it's something special. This track's just got that vibe to it, and championship leader, as you say, I'm expecting great things from him tonight.
So we have a few other drivers out here, a lot of people that tune in regularly. We have quite a few names as well. We see the likes of Bruno De Carmo currently sitting in second, about 6/10 down from Simone Seminara. Gael Valero as well, another driver that nearly never misses a race. He's been proving himself out here, an iRacing veteran, now switching over into Assetto Corsa Competizione. As well, speaking about switching over from one sim to another, we got to see last weekend Simone Seminara heading into our AMX 0 race. So don't let that fool you, folks, that we seen him in there with a rookie license in iRacing, but that's simply just give him enough time. I'm sure he will be up there with the best of the best, given a little bit of time to settle in. But enough about him being in iRacing. It's all about him out here still holding on to that top spot in qualifying. As we see now, an onboard cam from Bruno De Carmo, still 0.6 of a second. So we're about a little less than halfway through this qualifying session, and these drivers are starting to settle in really nicely.
Yeah, 11 minutes left in the session. Times will start to wrap up now with more drivers out on track, getting those laps in, and we'll start to ramp up quickly with right now you see Dantes, Evandro Dantes out on his lap, and he's taking these corners very nicely. He's now heading down to Stavolo, the final proper corner before you head down towards Blanchimont, and then the heavy braking zone of the bus stop chicane, arguably one of the better places to overtake around here.
So as we can see, a new addition to ACC recently has been the Mustang GT3. So we have a couple of drivers out there driving this, and right here, one of the main men, your current AMX5 iRacing Championship leader, Gael Valero, in the Ford Performance GT3. So we see him a lot in iRacing, racing the Fords. He definitely seems to favor those vehicles, and we can see that is no different out here in Assetto Corsa Competizione. But he will hit the pits for now, and we have another person that is very, very familiar. He's no stranger to the track, and that is Jackson Asenge. So the Brazilian driver out here, we've seen him nearly every race as well. Another AMX veteran, as well as one of these top sim racers. So we'll see a lot of these guys. Currently, Jackson Asenje sitting in 6th place here in this qualifying session. He is no stranger to the track. I've seen him put down amazing lap times, but like we said, folks, that's just really a little bit of the difference between being used to iRacing coming into Assetto Corsa Competizione. A little bit of difference here and there with the tires, how the cars feel, how they go on the tracks. So we'll just have to wait and see as Jackson Asenje looking to improve on that lap time. We have about 9 minutes, 40 seconds left in this qualifying session. So just over halfway through. I expect to see a lot of these drivers continue to improve on their lap times as well. We have several down towards the back of the pack currently in qualifying, have yet to set a lap time. So we'll have to also wait and see where they fall on the grid.
There were just over 9 minutes left. Seminar still at the front as we see Jackson Rosende then head towards the legendary, very famous Eau Rouge and Radio. Tell what, you can show any motorsport fan this corner and they will absolutely fall in love with it right away.
And now that we're looking, so we're following David Granes, the Fear Nothing Moto. So Fear Nothing Motorsports, we got these guys out here as well as his teammate Tyler McCullough. So we always can never just stress enough in some of these races. You know, we're used to Formula One where all of the teams have 2 drivers out on the field. But out here in AMX, a lot of these guys, sometimes you'll see them solo by themselves. Sometimes you'll see them with 2 or even 3 teammates out there. So that absolutely can play a huge part in their strategy, as well as using that teammate to be able to get some of the draft behind them, maybe a little bump drafting on some of the courses we've been out. So expect to see that from the Fear Nothing Moto guys out here today. As well as, like I said, we have a couple of Brazilian drivers. We always have the wonderful Leo Moura out here joining us as well, Nico Goidoe, and now Dino Filippo, who we seen yesterday putting on a crazy show. This guy, he was battling it out all day long, both races. So expect to see great things as well from Dino Filippo and the entire grid for that matter. We have a pretty good grid out here today.
Yeah, like you mentioned about the draft and the slipstream, very important. You can gain so much time in it, especially down that long straight just after Radian and towards the Lake chicane, the Camel straight, but also down towards Blanchimont. The slipstream, very important, and you get it when you're pretty much within 1 second of the car in front.
Right now, the beautiful onboard shot. So we're still hanging out with Dino Filippo as he's been taking us a lap around Spa. So there's about 7 minutes left in this qualifying session, and these drivers, you know, pace right now has been set by Simone Seminara, so doing an amazing job with a 2 minute 17.65. Bruno De Carmo still a second behind, so this is showing right here why Simone Seminara so far is leading this championship, just absolutely dominating out here over a lot of these other drivers, over a second gap between first and second place currently. But like we said, we know it's not just about who is going to get the fastest. Of course, everyone wants to get pole position, but it definitely comes down to racecraft, which we know a lot of those drivers towards the top of the grid absolutely have excellent racecraft. So it's going to be a great one out here. I feel like we're going to have to see exactly what happens. I expect a lot of drama on the first lap as well as towards the last couple of laps. Like we see, very characteristic of these guys. Never giving up, pushing it with everything they have. So we'll just have to stay tuned, especially with that tight hairpin going into turn 1 as soon as they start heading down the hill.
As we're watching Toby Soriano now on his flying lap, he's got a car in front of him, which he might be able to get a slight slipstream from down the long straight. Like I've mentioned, the slipstream very important, and probably the best overtaking spot into the Lake chicane. And sector 1 comes to an end now, and say goodbye to the fast speed as you enter sector 2, where it's very technical, medium speed as well as low speed. So setup pick, you need to choose between high speed and being able to overtake, or do you want that overall grip in sector 2?
And as we see Toby Soriano coming up on traffic, you know, he's looking to set it, oh, okay, well, he gets around him as we see. That looked like that may have been one of the Fear Nothing Moto vehicles right there, spinning out just a little bit. So we'll have to see. Toby Soriano definitely has enough time. He's looking to get out of that 8th place position currently, move up a couple spots on the grid. So now, so far, he's holding a good pace, but like we said, we'll have to see as soon as he crosses that start-finish line where that puts him. Will he be able to improve? Currently about 3 seconds off the top pace. So like I said, we want to give a shout out there to everyone watching on Twitch and YouTube. We see the live chat going across the screen out here today as well. So big hello to you. We love you guys. Thank you for tuning in and week out.
Yep, 4 minutes and 30 seconds remaining in the session. Then Toby's coming up to finish his lap now. He's got one braking point left, the bus stop chicane, the right, then the left, and then it's just a straight finish to the checkered line. And we'll see what time he can do now as he slams on the brakes, picks out his braking point, then his turning point, gets onto the curb nicely. Now he's going to try and straighten up the car right away and get on the power, runs it out wide to the curb brilliantly and across the line. Is he going to improve? He improves up to P6 by around 9/10 there.
Awesome, and just seeing that now. So we have a few other people. So currently, 3 people still yet to set an official lap time here in qualifying with just under 4 minutes to go. They're going to be cutting it pretty close here, folks. We do see one of those, Leo Mora, who is still in the pits as well. So if he wants to get a lap time on the board, he's going to have to do it now or never. So we have him as well as Lozano and Nico Godoy. So great spread of cars out here today. Sometimes we see some of these tracks. This is why Spa is one of my favorites. It is a very, very well balanced track and doesn't really suit one car over any other. So we see a lot of McLarens out here in the field today. Couple Fords, couple Ferraris, BMWs. Like we said, it is always great when we can see all of the different manufacturers out here on the field today. And like we said, so going back to the last time that we were at Spa, we've been here several times throughout the season with AMX, but like this in the GT3 cars, this definitely is one thing I love, as well as we had some of the vehicles, some of the drivers out here in the GT4 cars as well. So extremely close racing, and I expect to see that out here today in the GT3. So just under 3 minutes remaining. We have David Gronez right there. You can see the focus on his face, showing a little grin. All right, that's why we have these drivers up on cam, giving a little wink to the camera. So David Gronez currently sitting in 3rd place. So another driver to absolutely watch out here in today's race.
Of course, it's a 40-minute long race, so pole position doesn't mean anything if you're just going to throw it away on lap 1. Then again, being at the front here is huge, especially through sector 2. But very easy to get overtaken or overtake. So qualifying is still very important despite a long race we've got in front of us.
And with that, folks, there's our 2 minutes into qualifying. So those drivers that haven't set a lap right now, it looks like they very may well just be starting towards the back of the grid. But enough about them. We're still on board with David Gronez. Fear Nothing Moto out here, the number 230 McLaren. So we'll have to see what he has. He's okay with 3rd, but you know, at the same time, he is not. We're going into that last chicane as we come back on to the home stretch. So we'll have to see David Gronez looking to improve on his lap time, and as he comes across, looks like he will not. So he's still sitting about 1.2 seconds off of the pace at the top spot. So that'll be his last lap for him. Like we said, a lot of these drivers out here setting 217s, 218s. So pretty much, I feel like a lot of these drivers, they're happy to be able to keep the pace under 220. That'll definitely be one big thing. But like we mentioned, out here for the Assetto Corsa Competizione races, we do have a mandatory pit stop that sometimes can either win you the race or lose you the race. So although it's a virtual pit crew and these guys, you know, it's pretty balanced. It's not like some of these other guys where they get passed in the pits very easily because their pit crew took too long. That kind of evens things out. But the big thing, how much fuel do you take, if you take any at all? Do you do a splash and dash? Do you change tires? Is it going to rain? Is it going to see, as we've seen earlier on this season, we've had quite a few more rain races going on as well. So tons of different things in the back of these drivers' minds, but the one thing that is at the front of their mind is, hey, all right, qualifying's coming to an end. This is pretty much where I'm going to sit at. Time to get focused, get dialed in, and let's win us a race.
Yeah, currently not a lot of cars out on track as we're watching Evandro Dantas going into the pit lane. Currently P5 with a 2 minute 19.8, and that is qualifying over for today here in Spa-Francorchamps and Assetto Corsa Competizione.
So there too, Evandro Dantas thought he was going to go in and pit, but he's just doing a little bit of a drive-through. But nonetheless, like we said, that will wrap up our qualifying session out here. So this is race number 3 of Assetto Corsa Competizione this season. And likewise, the man of the hour, Simone Seminara, still holding on to that top spot. He's been absolutely dominant through qualifying, through the races, and within his character, he continues to do the same out here. So Simone Seminara, the man that looks like he cannot be stopped this season in ACC, continues to put on a show, continues to put on faster and faster laps. So I say he's definitely going to be the man to beat out here today. Like we said, we have a lot of other veterans out here of the likes of Gael Valero, Jackson Asenge. We have a few other people that the crowd favorites, such as Nico Godoy. So like we said, we'll have to wait and see. It's a 40-minute race, so you're not going to win it on the first lap. I know everyone wants to get ahead right away. And there is our results from the qualifying session. So like we said, Simone Seminara sitting right there in that first place, followed by Bruno De Carmo in second, David Granez in third place, Gael Valero coming in fourth, Toby Soriano fifth, Evandro Dantas in sixth, Jackson Asenge seventh place, Tyler McCullough in eighth, Dino Filippa ninth, Mauricio Lozano in 10th, Nico Godoy in 11th, and rounding it out, unfortunately not able to set a lap time, so he'll sit on the very back, is Leo Mora. So Leo Mora was sitting in the pits for quite a while, so we'll have to see if he is going to make it to grid. I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe just kind of sorting things out before the race. But your BenQ session winner is all smiles out here today. Like we said, he's very confident. He knows that he is a great driver, but he also knows of, hey, anything can happen, as that is what we have out here in the GT3 cars. So after that session, like we said, that pretty much looks like what may set the precedent for the rest of this race. But anything can happen. We've seen already time and time again the lap one, people getting very aggressive. So when you have a tight hairpin like you do out here on turn number 1, anything can happen. These guys can get a little bit aggressive. They can start bumping into each other, getting sent off track, getting damaged, having to go to the pits, or they might keep it extremely clean. Like I said, a lot of these guys, it definitely comes down to strategy by the end of the race. Not just being able to be fast, but being able to keep it on the track. As we seen yesterday with one of our races, if you want to finish first, the first thing you got to do is finish. So we are moments away from going green out here, Spa-Francorchamps, Assetto Corsa Competizione, AMX Sim Racing World Championship.
And it looks like it's going to be all dry pretty much throughout the race, blue skies. And tell what, if you're in second heading up the hill and down the straight, and you're close enough to our pole man right here who we're riding on board with, you might be able to have a go. Not sure if it's the smartest thing to do, as you mentioned. 40-minute race, you don't win the race on lap 1, turn 1, or in the first sector even, but as the formation lap gets underway, we're just moments away from this race getting underway.
And right there, right off the grid. So these drivers getting a rolling start, but like I said, it looked like there may have been a little bit of a bump in contact right there. These drivers trying to warm up the brakes, trying to warm up those tires just a little bit. So you can see there, that's what I love about getting these picture-in-picture shots as well from the drivers. So green flag is going, the drivers are off. We're going to see who gets the whole shot, and right there falling in line very, very quickly as they go down Eau Rouge up to Radillon. So these drivers, we have, looks like already 3 people in the pits. So we'll have to see if that counts towards their official qualifying. Like I said, once we get the timing back up on the screen, we'll have to just see. Very, very unique strategy. A lot of guys get it done very early on. A lot of guys go all the way out, but it looks like, Jackson Asenge may have had a penalty going on right now. So Looks like he has a drive-through that he needs to complete, so we'll have to see exactly what happened there. But right now, in character, Simone Seminara, your qualifying leader, is currently leading lap number 1, and it is very, very dangerous place to let him be. Once he gets up front, it is very easy for him to start driving away from all the other drivers. So we'll keep an eye on him, but also right now in the middle of the pack, we have it great going on between Tyler McCullough, Dino Filippa, Evandro Dantas, Jackson Asenge. So like I said, towards the middle of the pack, these drivers already putting the pedal to the metal. We haven't seen anything crazy so far, but I'm going to knock on wood because lap 1 is always when these tires are still warming up, and it happened a lot of incidents very early on.
Yeah, we saw the two McLarens of Granis and the Carmo going side by side through the Lake Home chicane, remaining unchanged off the stars. We now still right on board with Tyler McCullough, lining up a move or right behind his fellow McLaren of Resende, heading through Blanchemont and towards the bus stop chicane. He's right up behind him. He's going to have a little look to the inside hit. I've not really ever seen a move there as he gets a big slide, first to the left, then to the right, and now across the track and almost gets T-boned.
Yeah, that could have ended really dangerously right there. So Tyler McCullough unfortunately spinning out, but not getting collected by anyone else. So he will live to keep fighting on. Like I said, lap 1, those tires are still very, very cold. So we had a very short run up to the beginning of this race. What we see right now, his teammate David Grunes of Fear Nothing Moto in the 230 McLaren. So I believe he was the one earlier that looked like he may have gotten a little bit of a bump when these guys were getting ready to get off the grid, getting started. But he is currently 3rd place. This guy is an amazing Assetto Corsa Competizione racer, and we'll see right now, he is definitely battling for the podium. He has a great shot at it, but we know he doesn't want to just stay in 3rd. He wants to make his way and battle out with Simone Seminara, saying, all right, you're the current championship leader, but I'm going to come for those points. There's still plenty of time for a lot of these drivers to try and get a fight for the championship win. So, like we said though, Simone Seminara, as good as he is, he's not going to want that, he's not going to let that happen very easily with these drivers out here. So, we have a couple other people, Jackson Asenge heading through the pits, as well as Leo Mora right now also sitting in pit lane.
Yeah, of course, we're only in week 5, so the championship is far from over as we look back at the McLaren of Granis on board with Bruno de Carmo. Still these two looking to battle it out for P2. Can they catch up to Simone Seminar? Well, we're going to have to find out and see.
So we'll have to also see here, once these guys start battling it out, you know, they may just have to come to a friendly agreement for now, work together to try to catch up to the leader, because once they start battling it out, we've seen time and time again, Simone Seminara will absolutely start making that gap wider and wider. So there's already almost a 2-second gap between 1st and 2nd place. So Seminara already 1.8 seconds over Bruno de Carmo. So like we said right here, we're not even 5 minutes into this race, and these drivers so far are settling down very, very nice. All of them still have yet to take their first mandatory pit stop, so we'll have to see if anyone goes for the undercut out here. A lot of these guys, maybe they'll just say, all right, I just want to get it out of the way, get back on track, or wait till the possible last moment. It seems that that has been the strategy for a lot of these top drivers, is trying to wait until either the final lap or the penultimate lap, get out there, just enough time, especially once they start battling it out. So Bruno de Carmo and David Grunes start battling it out. That may very well be the move. We'll have to wait and see, folks.
We just saw Jackson Resende. He served his penalty and then he was off the track just on the exit of Buon there. Managed to get going in P10 right now, so he's got a long way to go, but it's a long race with just under 35 minutes to go, so he's going to get his head down and he's going to try and make inroads on P9 and P8, who are just a couple seconds up the road, but still David Granis in P3 trying to sniff out a point where he can maybe go for a move on Bruno de Carmo, but We can now see what happened actually to Jackson through Poulon. He probably lost the rear end. You can see in the bottom right on the split screen. Yep, just loses their rear end through this very corner, which the P2 and P3 are heading through now.
So with these McLarens out here today, they are very, very quick cars. I know a lot of people have favored them for a lot of races, but just like we've seen there, that tail can get very, very loose. So it's kind of a high risk, high reward car. So very skilled to be able to keep those wheels under use, keep it on track. So like we said there, Jackson Assenje as well as Tyler McCullough earlier, a couple of different McLaren drivers. So if you are able to tame that beast, you're definitely looking to be able to keep it up, as we've seen from Bruno De Carmo right now holding it in second place, as well as David Grenet still in third place. But like we said, that gap so far is already starting to gain. Simone Seminara now has a 2.5 second gap over second place. So he is feeling very, very comfortable out here in this 40-minute race. We may not really see too many drivers change tires unless the weather changes. So out here, the 40-minute race is just enough that you might start feeling a little bit of tire wear, but nothing that these drivers cannot handle. So only their lap times may be slowing down just by the slightest towards the end of the race. But right now, we're on board with Dino Filippa. So an AMX iRacing veteran out here getting his feet wet in Assetto Corsa Competizione, as well as a lot of these other drivers. Like we said, we brought back for season 5, the drivers are able to participate in 2 races per day. So 2 different classes, today being Assetto Corsa Competizione, and then later on our AMX5 iRacing. So expect some of these drivers out here this morning, well, this morning where I'm at, this evening in other parts of the world, such as Dino Filippa, Jackson Assenje, Bruno De Carmo. Expect to see them later on for our iRacing AMX5 race as well. So we heard the fans, the drivers wanted them to be able to compete more. We say, you know what, you're right, we're bringing it back.
Yeah, for now, Dino Filippa is right behind 4th place Dantes in the Ford, chasing him down though. One of the 4 drivers in the BMW for Team WRT, both of them running wide through no-name corners, still practically pushing him through these corners as they head down the hill and towards the left hand of Poulon.
So folks, we always want a battle towards the front of the pack, but like we said, it's always great for some reason. This is kind of an ongoing joke. It's always near 5th place. That's where the battle ensues. So we can see right here again, Dino Filippa only 0.2 of a second off of Evandro Dantas. There, the last sector looking like Filippa had just a little bit more pace, just trying to find a way to get around him. But Evandro Dantas now slowly starting to pull away. So that goes again, folks, some of these more technical sections of the tracks. A lot of these drivers are really a little bit more comfortable in other sections. So especially with the Ford Mustang GT3 being such a new car to Assetto Corsa Competizione, it's really nice to be able to see some of these drivers just settle in and push it to the absolute limit.
Yeah, and Evandro Dantas, he managed to pull a slight gap there down that little, not really straight, but flat out section to Dino Filippa, who is, gaps up to 1 second now, and they head down the main straight. It seems like the Ford, a bit more power in the straights, 2 different cars, not really sure how they separate from each other, but it's great seeing, like you said, seeing people settle into the Ford, newly released to Assetto Corsa Competizione. And Dino Filippa now 1.2 seconds off, so maybe had a slight mistake there coming out of Stavolo.
And looking at the timing screen, it looks like we are down 1 driver now, so that may very well be the number 8 Ferrari of Lozano. So Lozano, unfortunately, retiring from this race early on. We'll have to see, hopefully get a word from him, see what happened there. But also looking at the timing screen now, you can see some of those orange sections turning to green. That means these drivers have taken their mandatory pit stop. So Nico Godoy, Jackson Assenje, 2 drivers that have now taken their mandatory pit stop, getting back out on the track. Leo Mora, unfortunately, still out in the pits. So like I said, I'm not exactly sure what happened there as well. So that's 2 drivers right now that unfortunately it may just be out of this race. But the ones that have been still here, Evandro Dantas, we see right behind him with that beautiful rear view cam, looking Dino Filippa now getting the gap still back under to 1 second. So like we said, it's been about a second gap between these two guys, but with 30 minutes left in this race and neither of them taking that mandatory pit stop yet, anything can still happen. So we'll have to see if Dino Filippa, what his strategy is going to be here going into these last 30 minutes of the race, what he's going to do, when he's going to pit, or if he's going to try and catch up, push it as much as he can, or like we said, don't rule it out for any of these drivers to make the littlest of mistakes that we've seen earlier from veterans such as Jackson Assange, Ruben Tyler McCullough. All it takes is one little tiny slip, and that sends you back down the grid.
I would not be surprised if I see Dino Filippa here going for the undercut on Evandro Dantas, as you know, you may be the quicker car, but sometimes you just can't find a way past, and then going for the undercuts helps, as you've got clear in front of you and you're able to run your pace, but still the battle P2 between Bruno De Carma and David Grant is heating up the two McLarens, 1.3 seconds off. Of course, being the same car, no one really has advantage, so it's just down for pure skill and pace as it seems between them right now.
So I'm seeing on here, it looks like Mauricio Lozano is now chiming in. It seems like he is, unfortunately, losing connection in this. So we're glad to have you still on the stream. Like we said, we hope that you come back for the next race. So there you guys hear from the man himself, Mauricio Lozano, unfortunately having some connection issues out here and having to retire early from this ACC race. So our hearts go out to you, but like we said, we know that you will be back, so we will see you on the grid for the next race as he comes back on the timing screen. So like we said, he was off, he was going up, so I guess not entirely retired, but is definitely having things going. So he has the stream up as well. Big shout out to you. So Leo Mora, though, is still in the pits. We'll have to see, as now we see as well Tyler McCullough getting in that mandatory pit stop. His teammate up here still sitting in third place. So the grid has not changed very much towards the top of the pack since the beginning of this race. We have first place Simon Seminaro, second Bruno De Carmo, and third David Granez, with only about a second and a half between Granez and Bruno De Carmo. So folks, that's it. We have just under 27 minutes left out here. Assetto Corsa Competizione, season number 5, AMX Sim Racing World Championship.
And Simone Seminar manages to get the gap back up to 5.6 seconds. He is currently driving away from the McLaren of Bruno De Carma. Still, though, Evandro Dantas, he's managing to pull a slight gap now to Dino Filippa. But still, these two, 1 second separates them, bit more, bit less. It changes every now and then. Pace differentials, managing your pace every now and then. Watching the fuel as well. We saw yesterday fuel can be an issue. You don't want to go too long and mess up your pit stop time, but you also don't want to mess up your pit stop or your fuel calculation in come 25 minutes or so.
So now we can see, right here, Dino Filippa. Man, that was very, very close with the number 1 Ford driver of Evandro Dantas as well. So almost getting into the rear end of him, just coming up really, really close on that, coming in a little hot. But right now, Evandro Dantas, we'll have to see exactly what these guys do, as now we have a great battle ensuing on our hands. Dino Filippa, Evandro Dantas, these guys, I assume, are going to be going back and forth. So right now, once we start getting towards the halfway point of the race, that's when people start saying, all right, you know what? I've gotten comfortable with the track. I'm getting comfortable. Now it is time to start making moves. Now it's time to start being a little bit more aggressive and start laying it out on the line. So any fuel savings that may be done towards the beginning of the race are now probably going to start coming out. The drivers, like I said, getting really used to the cars on this track, now going to be pushing it to the absolute limit. We've seen that before, especially the first race of the season. One notable moment was Simone Seminara and Gael Valero, those two keeping it very calm until about halfway in the race, and then it looked like someone opened up the gates of hell. These guys were battling it out, leaving everything, flames spitting out the cars, bumping door to door. So we'll have to see exactly what these guys, but right now still looking to make that overtake. The number 1 of Evandro Dantas looking to the inside. Will he have enough grip over Dino Filippa? And he does get that pass. So we're still looking behind Dino Filippo a little bit, but we got to be looking forward as Evandro Dantas showing why he was sitting in that position in the first place.
Yeah, Evandro Dantas getting back in front after a small mistake through turn 1, showing that he's got the overall pace between the two. Dino Filippo is going to come up with something soon and quick, because otherwise Evandro Dantas might just get that gap back up to 1 second, and that's kind of the position where you can't do much. As here you've got the incident in the bottom right. So like the Ford got tagged there, which I completely missed, but now back in front pretty much a lap later. And Seminar still leads us away from De Carmo and Granis.
So just like that, you guys able to see the picture-in-picture replay. So it did look like there was just a little bit of contact going on. So once again, we've seen that going on yesterday from some of these drivers. And whenever you see contact, even in the slightest, hey, all right, they're glad that it didn't turn into a wreck, but at the same time saying, all right, you know what? I want my revenge, but the best revenge out here is beating your competitor. So we'll have to see. We know Evandro Dantas turning it up. He has the pace, like you mentioned, Julian, as well as Dino Filippo, another veteran driver out here who still doing very good. So this is where you can kind of see the differences between some of these vehicles. So mainly the GT3 and the BMW, the Ford GT3, sorry, and the BMW out here. So these guys, it looks like Dino Filippo able to get on the brakes just a little bit later, really on some of these tighter corners. It seems where he is showing a little bit better pace, but as well that Mustang is showing some great pace once you get out of these corners back onto the straightaway. So it's definitely going to be back and forth, I expect, as we're almost halfway through this race out here, Assetto Corsa Competizione.
Yeah, and there you see a replay of Dantas' overtake, and as we've seen and as you mentioned, the BMW a bit better on the brakes and gaining, especially in sector 2. You see a gap currently at 5/10. However, once that Mustang can open up on the straights, particularly in sector 3, you've got that long flat out section after Stavolo, also in sector 1, pretty much from turn 1 all the way to the Lacombe chicane. It is flat. That's where the Mustang is strong, and that's where the BMW needs the slipstream just to be able to compete. As we see now, the gap opened up to 1 second as they head out to the first open straightaway.
And now looking back at the timing screen as well, it looks like we are back down to 11 drivers once again. So we've seen earlier Mauricio Lozano, he was having a bit of connection issues, but he is back with us. So it looks like that would be Tyler McCullough. So Tyler McCullough, he may have retired off the race, or we're not sure if he is also experiencing some connection issues, but as it stands, he is not on the grid at this moment. So Tyler McCullough, unfortunately, if that was his race, you know, he may be getting off right now, but still good news for his teammate David Granes, still sitting in that third place position. So still up there, putting Fear Nothing Moto up on the board currently, and I feel like this is kind of where it's going to be. I see a lot of people saying that Seminara being untouchable out here. Absolutely, he is showing absolute alien pace out here. Simone Seminara, one of the best that we've seen out here in the Assetto Corsa Competizione.
Yeah, but you can never get too comfortable in motorsport. We've seen time and time again leaders taking it too easy, making a mistake. All it takes is a little slide of the rear end, or maybe just a lock-up somewhere, and tell what, P2 and P3 are going to be right there, so it needs to stay locked in. As we still see Dino Filippo then. This is now where the BMW is strong. This is where he should close in that gap so he can have the slipstream and go for the overtake. Because you've got to start setting up the move a lot earlier. We can see very focused on the screen as they are about to hit down the hill. And
so we know the BMW that quick. Like I said, a lot of these cars, so they have you know, a little bit of give and take, like we've seen out here today from Dino Filippo. Looks like that BMW doing very, very well on the turns, on those braking zones, be able to turn into very, very nice. But like we said, with the Mustang GT3 car out there too, seeming to get a little bit better exit speeds, being able to carry a little bit more speed through some of these straights. So really, Dino Filippa is going to have to keep it on the rear bumper of Evandro Dantas and just wait for that perfect opportunity to make a move. So there's some great places out here, especially turn number 1. We've seen a few drivers use that, the very popular place for overtaking to be done out here at Spa. So we'll have to see. Right now, still Dino Filippa about 1 second gap, a little over a second still right now behind Evandro Dantas. But like you were saying earlier, Simone Seminara, the man of the hour, right now has about an 8-second gap over Bruno De Carmo. So this is being very reminiscent of the 2023 Formula One season with Max Verstappen just absolutely dominating everyone out there. That is what we've seen so far this season from Simone Seminara. Once he's able to get some clean air up front, he absolutely takes off, leaves behind no prisoners.
And he's gone that opportunity right away. He got pole position and he managed to lead away, being unchallenged into the Les Combes chicane, and ever since then he's not looked back at all. Cap 8.1 seconds after 9 laps, and we've now completed more than half of the Grand Prix. Well, yeah, the top 7 still yet to make their pit stop, so it seems like these guys are saving it until the very end, just like you mentioned. That seemed to be the strat in the last couple of races. As now, side by side, Dantas and Dino Filippa through the Les Combes chicane. Dantas managed to push past there. He stays behind Dino Filippa, managed to get past even.
So right there, we've seen a lot of the people that know Dino Filippa, Evandro Dantas. They know right here, Dino Filippa. So we were just waiting to make his move. He found the opportunity. They made a little bit of contact. Back there, Evandro Dantas just getting a little bit squirrely. He may have touched the grass right on the outside of that last turn. But like I was mentioning, Dino Filippa is a very aggressive driver. So as much as he's going to wait for you to make a mistake, sometimes he's just going to see the slightest opening and force the nose of that vehicle right into there. So we've seen a little bit of contact going on. Right now, we see a picture-in-picture replay on the bottom right of that overtake. So had the draft going alongside him right there on the outside, turns in and just, a little bit of contact, so got a little too close right there, and that sent Evandro Dantas right behind him. So right there, Dino Filippa, we'll have to see. Like we said, we do have racing stewards out here. These drivers are able to protest if they feel like something happened. So we'll have to see if that plays in later on. But for right now, Evandro Dantas doing an amazing job of being able to not let it get to him too much and hold on to the draft right now. So as we head back into these high-speed sections, we'll have to see exactly if Evandro Dantas is able to get back that position.
Yeah, that's exactly what we talked about that Dino Filippa needs to do. Get in the slipstream, stay with the Ford down the straights where it suffers quite a bit, but now he managed to get in front. But Evandro Dantas now, of course, he said the Ford so much quicker in a straight line, or quicker out of the corners, which is the crucial part, the acceleration, because in top speed these GT3 cars are very similar. As the gap is now at half a second as they climb up towards Rouge and Radion. And is he close enough to make a move? He is going to have the draft. I think he's just a bit too far back, isn't he, Kevin?
Yeah, right here. So like you've seen, though, that Mustang GT3 car does seem to be doing very well. Once you get a decent corner exit, it just seems like the momentum of that vehicle just carries it all the way on through the straight. So again, this has been the battle going on for nearly the last 20 minutes between these two drivers, and I expect it to go down all the way to the final lap. So we do have our top 7 drivers still have yet to take their mandatory pit stop. So although these two right here, they are a little bit behind the next place, so seeing like between 3rd and 4th place, there's about almost a 16-second gap between Dino Filippa in 4th and David Granes in 3rd. So these drivers know that this is pretty much going to be where they may sit, so they want to have that 4th place position locked down. We'll see if the pit strategy comes into play here very soon. So we are about 15 minutes left in this race, folks. Assetto Corsa Competizione, your leader all season long, Simone Seminara, out here showing why he is the best of the best in AMX Assetto Corsa Competizione.
Evandro Dantas getting right up behind the BMW. BMW running a bit wide, going into Stavolo, and now this is the slipstream in the GT3 cars. Absolute huge, and it makes a huge difference to the already more powerful Ford, who is just biding its time, waiting for the moment, pushing the BMW through Blanchimont, still waiting, maybe waiting for the long straight. He has a small look through the outside of the bus stop, but decides against it and try and get the better run and exit through the bus stop chicane and down towards the, well, most of the time the main straight here in Spa-Francorchamps, where we see the F1 paddock and other and the GTs. But through turn 1, still Evandro Dantas hoping to get a good run out of here so he can challenge going uphill and towards the Lecombe chicane.
So we have Evandro Dantas. He's been showing great car control. That's one thing, folks, that a lot of people don't understand, just how difficult it is to stay right on that rear bumper, especially through braking zones, trying to find the moment to overtake. But like we can see out here in the background, slowly gaining speed, slowly gaining pace on these guys, with Felipe and Dantas battling it out. That has started to leave room for Gael Valero to slowly close the gap between himself and Dantas. So what right now is a two-car battle may very well be turning into a three-way battle for fourth place, as Gael Valero closing the gap ever so slightly. Another Ford Mustang GT3 driver out here and another AMX veteran. So we know Gael Valero is no stranger to this position that he is in. We have about 13 minutes left to see what can happen, as well as these guys still needed to take their mandatory pit stop. So we'll have to see. Nico Godoy, Toby Soriano, Jackson SNJ towards the back of the pack, but they have taken their mandatory pit stops. So we'll have to see where their pacing is. If these other guys that pit right in front of them, will that be enough time for them to catch up? We'll just have to wait and see.
And of course, the more Evandro Dantas and Dino Filippo fight, the more it's going to bring in, like you mentioned, Valero. 3.6 the gap is a AMX5 veteran, but for now I think Evandro Dantas is not looking in his rearview mirrors. He wants this P4 back, and I think he's just on the verge of getting it. He's very close to the BMW here on this straightaway here, but then loses a bit of time in the cornering of the bus stop chicane.
So now looking at the timing screen, a lot of you folks, you can see up there, Simone Seminario, your leader now, over a 12-second gap between himself and Bruno De Carmo sitting in second place, as well as only about a 1.2 second between David Granes in third and Bruno De Carmo in second. So David Granes, we'll have to see that battle for second place coming on later on, as right now, oh yes, Evandro Dantas is choosing to pit, so he will get in his mandatory pit stop. I assume a lot of these drivers are just doing a splash and dash. Like we said, 40 minutes out here at Spa may not be enough to entirely need to fuel up or change tires, but like we said, the splash and dash never hurts. They still have to go, but he's not pitting. Looks like he's still doing a drive-through. So unfortunately, he's going the drive-through. He never stopped in the box, so I'm not sure if Evandro Dantas doesn't know that he has to go into the box and actually completely stop. So unfortunately, that right there may be the nail in the coffin for Evandro Dantas. We'll have to see right there. So again, this right here, just a bit of miscommunication, a bit of things going on, but well, we'll have to see. Maybe his box is coming up here as well. So the very, very long pits out here at Spa, as we see a couple other drivers still there. Mauricio Lozano, Leo Mora, their car sitting in pit lane already. So Evandro Dantas still doing his drive through, and there he goes. All right. So there wasn't a miscommunication. It was just us not realizing how absolutely insanely long the pits out here at Spa are. So yeah, we have the full pits, not just the Grand Prix pits out here. So apologies for that. I am definitely used to the shorter Grand Prix pits, but nonetheless, Evandro Dantas able to get that pit stop, and he is back out on the track. So that left room for Gael Valero to get up into fifth place, but your top five still yet to take their pit stops.
Yeah, that was one heck of a pit stop there. Very, very long, but he's come out crucially in clean air as well, so he's able to press on now and maybe go for the undercut on Dino Filippo. Will Dino Filippo respond to that right away, or is he running his own race and staying with his strategy of running even longer? We're now more than 30 minutes into this race, into the final 10 minutes. of this race. Going into the pit lane now is David Grenes, Fear Nothing Moto. He's going to try undercutting De Carmo in P2.
And right here too, so David Grenes, like you mentioned, now slowing down into pit lane. So we'll have to see. I expect Simone Seminara to wait until the very, very last lap. That has been very characteristic of him all season long. So now we see Dino Filippa hitting the pits as well. So depending on how long this takes him, this may very well be enough time for Evandro Dantas to get back up the grid, overtake Dino Filippa in the pits. So like we said, we'll have to wait and see on that. They had a pretty good pacing back and forth, only about a second between the two drivers for most of the race. So 9 minutes left out here in this race, Assetto Corsa Competizione. Simone Seminar still being absolutely just killer out here as we get a Dantas, an onboard picture-in-picture right there in the bottom right hand of the screen. We can see Dantas. Now he knows, all right, I have to push. Right now is definitely the time to push to be able to get out ahead of Dino Filippa once he comes out of the pit. So right now he's coming on to the final backstretch. So now getting ready to come into the last chicane before he hits the home stretch. Will he be able to have enough time? He slows down a little bit there. Looks like he may just overslowed the slightest, but he's picking up speed now, coming on into the final stretch across the start-finish line. It's going to be a race to the very end. It looked like we had a little bit of issue from Dino Filippa not completely stopping, so that's definitely going to upset his time right there.
It's going to be very close. Of course, Dante's full throttle, while Filippa was forced to wait with, I think it's 80 kilometers per hour pit limit. Up Eau Rouge, Dantes go, has Filippa got it? It's going to be very tight. He comes in, as I think we'll see a move fit. He's got the overspeed, the Ford versus the BMW. It's not even like a competition. It's literally GT3 versus GT4 down that straight, just because the Ford was managed to get his foot on the floor a lot earlier, not being limited to the pit speed.
So right there, that earlier pit definitely worked out in favor of Dantas. And like we said, Dino Filippa, unfortunately, looks like he wasn't all the way in the box, had to scoot forward just a little bit before his car was able to do a little bit of a splash and dash and go. So that left Evandro Dantas now with a significant gap. So right now, like we see, there was only about a half a second on the last timing sector, but it looks like now he's slowly starting to gain away. So Dino Filippa has his work cut out for him, as we are just under 7 minutes left in this race. So these drivers realistically only have just about 3 or 4 laps left in them out here in this heat going on. So Evandro Dantas and Dino Filippa, the two drivers everyone has been watching all heat long. These guys battling it out back and forth. But like we said, that BMW, as we see once again, they get back to the technical sections of the tracks, just doing an amazing job on the brakes. So I have a feeling that these guys are going to be battling it down all the way to the line of the final lap.
Yeah, we're pretty much back to square one, where it all started 20 or 30 minutes ago by now, with the BMW behind the Ford, but still Simone Seminar in P1. Gap at about 14 seconds. It's almost like a second a lap for this guy, but he's yet to pit. When is he going to pit? Of course, Granes has already pit, and he's hoping he can undercut Bruno De Carmo. Carmo, not Karma, what am I saying? Valero also yet to pit. So the top 3 yet to make their mandatory pit stop.
So we can see right here, your leader, Simone Seminara, very comfortably up in the lead, as he's been all race long, all season long for that matter. Going to show he is still looking to be an ACC champ out here. So doing an amazing job. And right now we're on board with Gael Valero. So Gael Valero, your overall AMX 5 championship leader. Like we said, this just goes to show of what consistency can do, especially when you are in the championship for overall points. Being consistent is the most important thing out here. Consistently towards the front of the grid, consistently setting fast laps. And Gael Valero, one of last season's champions, is out here doing it again this season. So we see there now as Bruno De Carmo is coming into the pit lane. there's about a 20-second gap between Bruno De Carmo and Simone Seminara. But Gael Valero, we're going to see if he's able to pull a hat trick out. He's also quite a bit further behind Bruno De Carmo and has yet to take his pit stop as well. So this may very well be where we see your top three drivers, but David Grenez able to be, I'm assuming David Grenez is able to pass Gael Valero once Gael Valero does get into the pits. So we'll have to wait and see, but David Grenez was sitting in third place nearly the whole race, and I expect that is where he's going to finish as well, so long as none of these drivers make any mistakes. He has the pace. We'll have to see if he can hold on to it. As now coming around back onto the home stretch is David Grenez.
Yeah, we're going to see if it's going to be a similar situation like between Ivan Tridantis and Tino Filippa, where the car that's not in the pit lane has that overspeed compared to the car in the pits, which is limited. Does he get him, though, as Bruno De Carmo's got I think, DT's drive-through. He's sure maybe speeding in the pit lane or something, as he is, I think he is behind the other McLaren, so the undercut has, or he is now ahead in fact, so the undercut has worked as he manages to swoop by him through turn 6 there.
So just like that, we see on there a drive-through penalty. So folks, we had Bruno De Carmo up in second place nearly the entire race, but just like that, we can have a penalty change the entire thing. So we had Gael Valero, who was sitting lower on the grid very early on, started slowly battling his way, trying to claw back a lot of that time. And now we have Simone Seminara, Gael Valero, the only two drivers, first and second, who have not made their pit stop. So Simone Seminara very comfortably in first. Gael Valero, it may be cutting it close to see if he has a chance at the podium out here today in ACC. But with under 3 minutes left, like we said, these drivers, we may only see just over a lap left out of them, maybe a couple of laps. So it's going to come down to this, folks. Very, very soon, we're going to have to see these guys pit up your top two of the race, as well as leave that door right open for David Grenez. Bruno De Carmo, unfortunately, doing very, very well. We'll have to serve that drive-through very, very soon.
Yeah, Valero will be rubbing his hands together if he's seen that drive-through and realizes that this could be a podium here if he's got the pace. Of course, we have, or you have mentioned and we have seen before, he's got the pace to even challenge Simone Seminara, but he's in the pit lane now, the Ford. It's a long pit lane, as we've seen. He's done 50% of it already, as he's hung up to his pit area now to probably just a splash and dash for him.
So there we go. The dreaded pit stop, one of the longest pit stops that we've seen all season long, as they have to drive through both pit lane sections. So right here we have the onboard of David Grenez. So coming down through Eau Rouge and Radion down here. All right, he has the speed as we see him pass Gael Valero through the pit stop. So looking like David Grenez will be able to move back up into that second place position. Like we said, unfortunately, Bruno De Carmo having a drive-through penalty in the pit lane as well. So Simone Seminara, he is absolutely going to have to take his pit stop, or else he will get penalized for that. So we see right now your ACC leader all season long, as well as all race right now, entering the pits with less than a minute to go. So we'll also see where he crosses the flag once the time runs out. As we can see back there, looking at the sign, looks like a 50-kilometer-an-hour pit speed, which, hey, that is pretty standard a lot of places, but it does definitely feel very slow when we have pits this long. So Simone Seminara, did he get it in time? Where will he cross the flag? These are all things that we're just going to have to wait and see. 30 seconds left of the race. Is it going to finish possibly in pit lane? We'll also have to see about that. So we got it earlier. Simone Seminara waiting to the last lap, and he has done just that, Julian.
He has done that just indeed, and of course that's got a couple of advantages. Of course, you risk running out of fuel, but with someone of his caliber, I would say that's highly unlikely, but it risks you getting stuck behind one of the guys behind you. He's now got a clean road behind him, as the race is done. I'm not sure if there might be one more lap here as the timer has finished. He is crawling at, tell you what, it looks very slow, 50 kilometers per hour, but in hindsight, it's not that slow if you think about it. Just these GT cars can go up to 230, as he's got the last pits in the pit lane. Very stark contrast to his position out on track, where he's dominated the race as he gets to a stop and then he's out once again, and now the limiter is off, and that is a steep climb off the pit exit.
And there we see your race leader, Simone Seminara, coming out of the pits. Has over a minute still, so between David Granes and him, we'll have to see. This is looking like where it may just very well sit, folks. Simone Seminara first place, David Granes in second, Gael Valero holding on to third. So we'll have to see, as like we said, white flags out. This looks like it will be the final lap for everyone. We see a lot of the timing now, seeing that you're right, this is where a lot of these guys are gonna pretty much hold on to it, but it isn't over to it. It's over, but I will say it right now, a preemptive congratulations on an excellent race from all of these drivers, but the one person we've been talking about all season, all race long, continues to show his dominance out here, getting a little bit squirrely. Like we said, we've seen this guy, not very much phases him as well. Simone Seminara leading since the very beginning, getting best in qualifying, getting well over a second over a lot of these drivers. So he has the pace, and I'm glad to see what this guy can do. We're glad to see him in iRacing as well. So we'll have to see exactly what happens. But a couple things now, looking at the timing, looks like Tyler McCullough 11 laps down, Mauricio Lozano 12 laps down. So some of these guys, unfortunately, not having the best race out here, but we are glad that they came out today for every single one of these drivers, and all of you out there as well. We're glad that you came watch. We're out here live every single weekend, Twitch and YouTube, AMX Season 5, Saturdays and Sundays, as we see these guys hitting it now towards the pit. So looks like the race is now over. We will be waiting very shortly for the official results. So, Julian, what was your highlight of this race?
It's got to be that battle between Dino Filippa and Alessandro Dantes. I mean, those guys were pretty much 1 second apart for the entirety of the race, but then the undercut that the Ford driver managed to get on the BMW pretty much put us back to square one. But also Valero, P3, and that was down to strategy, overcutting the two Evandro Dantes and Dino Filippa, who were fighting. But also, as usual, a bit of luck is involved. Bruno De Carmo, I mean, drive-through penalty with 5 minutes remaining in the session. That's just unlucky.
So there you see your BenQ session winner, Simone Seminara, absolutely dominating out here today, as well as the second place. Big congrats to David Granes from Fear Nothing Moda and Gael Valero, an iRacing veteran, now moving into Assetto Corsa Competizione and keeping pace with these guys. Evandro Dantes able to best Dino Filippa, getting in that fourth place position and sending Dino Filippa down into fifth. So we also have Toby Soriano, 6th place, Nico Godoy in 7th, Bruno De Carmo 8th, Jackson Asenje 9th place, Tyler McCullough coming in 10th, Mauricio Lozano in 11th, and rounding it out in 12th, Leo Moro, which unfortunately we've seen his car in the pits the whole time, so we may have to check in to see what happened, that we did not unfortunately see him out on the grid. But like we said, all race long, it is your winner, Simone Seminara. So another beautiful race day out here at Spa, like we know from other races as well. Doesn't matter what sim you're in, it doesn't matter what car you're driving, you can always expect some great racing going on. This is where champions are made, out here in Stavlo, Belgium at Spa-Francorchamps. But we'll have to see it going on. So like we said, we got to hear from some of these guys last time as well. So again, I love seeing these guys out on track. It's been great. And you know what, Julian, it's been a great day out here already for race number 1. So we have race number 2 of the day is going to be coming up very, very soon as well. So, but before we get there, we'll have to see, let's hear from one of the drivers, a fan favorite, Gael Valero. So we're going to head over to the interview room real quick with Gael Valero, and let's see what he has to say today. So as we're getting the interview ready for our drivers, got to make it nice and comfy, nice and welcoming for everyone. Quick shout out also back to everyone out there still watching on Twitch and YouTube. We love you guys. We see you out there making this job that much more fun every single weekend in and out. We see a few guys out there, you know, driver cams. We see Mr. Exhaust Sniffer, a few different names that we do have out here. So, we'll just have to wait and see. Like we said, we love you guys watching, but we want to see you guys in here every now and then too. So we do have, hey, AMX 0, I feel like no pressure. You guys aren't going to have to be putting in a bunch of crazy entry fees. AMX 0 is open to anyone. We would love it as well. So right now it looks like we are going to be heading into the interview room, like I said. So let's hear from a couple of the drivers. Welcome, Gael Valero, a man that is no stranger to the podium, a man that is no stranger to interviewing out here with us. So, we've seen you out here again. Of course, had to pick the Ford Mustang out here in today's race. So, congratulations on that third place finish. At what point in the race did your mind go from, okay, I just need to finish this race, to, okay, I have a shot at the podium?
Late.
So we had that. Okay. And of course, though, that too, we had, you know, seeing Bruno De Carmo. So a lot of these other guys, did you expect the grid to be a little bit different? You know, you've raced against a lot of these guys in iRacing, seen how close you guys are out there. Do you think that racing out here the last couple of times has definitely helped being able to overtake the rest of the field?
No.
All right. Well, always very brutally honest from Gael Valero. But I will ask, though, one thing. So we do have the 2 races a day. I'm assuming that you are going to be here. We will see you at the next one. So I'll let you go, Gael. I'll let you get in some practice for the next coming race. And we're going to have to see about Simone Seminara, our race winner. So Gael Valero, thank you. And we will see you very soon. All right, so folks, there, everyone heard it from Gael Valero. I know he's trying to get out of here. He needs to get into practice, get into qualifying, head over. Like we said, we do have AMX 5 iRacing coming up next. So a lot of these drivers that we do see there normally are definitely trying to make their way over. But one driver that hopefully we do see in these AMX 5 races, we know that he's still getting used to iRacing, and of course everyone has to start from the bottom, even the best of the best. But here we are with your race winner, Simone Seminara. Simone, congratulations once again. That is 3 in a row for ACC this season. How are you feeling knowing that you're just absolutely dominating the competition out here this season? Yep, it looks like we may have just a little bit of technical issues, little audio issues going on with the interview room. Okay, there you are, Simone.
I was listening from the stream.
Okay, so Simone, like I said, congratulations. And like I said, what is going through your mind just knowing at the end of the race, 3 times in a row, you walked away with a win with ease? How are you feeling knowing that you're being so dominant out here this season in ACC?
Well, it's of course very great, and to be honest, today was maybe the easiest one, because Spa and BMW is like my favorite car and track combination, so my strongest for sure. Also the tricky track condition, and it was very, very hot. So maybe a driver which have more hours on iRacing but less on ACC have struggled a bit, because I mean, I have quite some experience on ACC, so I knew exactly how to adapt in my driving and in my setup.
And we seen you last week as well coming into the AMX Zero iRacing. So how has that transition been from going to Assetto Corsa Competizione and now trying out some of the iRacing races? How has that transition been?
Well, it's actually very hard. It requires very different inputs, especially on the braking. Yeah. Also, I have to get used to the cold tires on first lap, because I think like I spun in a race too, which was very unfortunate because I was third, I think. But yeah, I'm trying because it's honestly very fun and the grid is so close. Everybody is so fast. I mean, it's very hard, but also very fun and rewarding.
Well, like we said, once again, congratulations. And we, of course, we know we're going to see you out here for Assetto Corsa Competizione the rest of the season. But we hope that you make it back next week as well. And like we said, we'll see exactly what happens. I know it took me a while to get used to iRacing as well. So I expect a veteran like yourself to be able to be up in speed and hopefully being able to see you in a lot more races coming up. So thank you so much, Seminara. Once again, congratulations, and we will see you next time.
Thank you, see you.
So there we go, folks. You heard from two of the people that we see quite often out here, as well as your winner. We know that, yeah, David Granez, we've seen a few people that were out here. So I really hope a lot of these guys, especially David Granez, we've seen him, but we are running out of time now. We're going to have to let a lot of these drivers get ready for that second race, as well as, well, we might catch up with some of these drivers out here. I see you guys in chat. I see, you know, you want us to talk to a few different people, so we'll definitely have to catch up with them outside of the race as well. But for now, make sure to follow all of our social media on the screen. Don't go anywhere, everyone. We have race number 2 of the day coming up very, very shortly.
Big accident there. I think that was Pedro D. He's just gone off. Whoa, into the carousel immediately. He gets punted off. That was Saavedra. Aguilar, he's gone off. He's been tapped and he's into the barriers. Oh, the rejoin. Oh,
and
no.
Dean. Oh, Pedro, Dean.
Oh, Chris Lalum does have the inside track for the Swiss left. If he's able to make that pass happen, he might be able to cut away Victorino. He does make that pass, and he makes it clean as they come into the right hand. And this is it. Chris Lalum seizes the opportunity and makes it. And just as the end, the rain comes to put a pin onto the end of the race, and Chris Lalum takes it.
To save our home, we must travel through the gateway to find new energy.
Back with the beautiful overlook out here in Spain. We are back at the Circuit of Barcelona-Catalunya, home of the Spanish Grand Prix. But today, we're not going to be out here in Formula One vehicles. We're going to be out here in the LMP2 vehicles, more specifically the Dallara P217. Welcome back, everybody, to Season 5 of AMX Sim Racing World Championship. So I am Kevin, and with a very special guest today joining us up in the booth, we have Julian. Julian, we had one race early on today. In one word, how would you explain how that race went?
Domination. Hands down from Simeone there, leading away from the start, grabbing pole by, I think a second it was at then, something like that, and then just running away with it. There were great individual battles, but if you look at the race winner, that was the best race he could have done, and he did just that.
Absolutely. So ACC, things have been Simone Seminar all day long, but like we said, we're back AMX 5 iRacing, where we have the likes of Gael Valero, who joined us earlier on today. So before we check in with how our drivers are doing, make sure to follow all of our social media, as well as head over to amxrace.com. But for those of you just tuning in, we are about 5 weeks into this season, and man, where has the time gone? It's been great so far. So we started back May 25th, and we're going all the way through August 18th this season with a season prize pool of $15,000 and next level racing gear. So the race format for today is going as following. For our AMX 5 iRacing, we have our 20-minute qualifying, followed by a top 15 reverse grid going into that 20-minute heat number 1, as well as another top 15 reverse grid for your final heat number 2, and likewise 20 minutes for all that. So 20 with the 2 top 15 reverse grids. Driver cams are required, so if you're going to be out there on the track, we want to see your beautiful faces. Join the link via our AMX Discord, as well as our website for more information. The payouts this season are done in balances over $100 paid out every single month. So once your account hits that $100 threshold, you can get some money going your way. We are out here every Saturday and Sunday, so make sure to tune in live every single weekend this season, and head over to amxrace.com to get signed up, as well as get the full schedule. And speaking of schedules, like I said, we're here every single weekend, Saturdays and Sundays. AMX 5, we're starting at 5:50 p.m. GMT, with a second race starting at 7:20 right after. With every other week, we're switching it up. On one weekend, we will have Assetto Corsa Competizione, just like we did today. And on the opposite weekends, we will have AMX 0 starting at 5:50, followed by the all-new AMX 20 starting at 7 p.m. So that has been a fan favorite so far. A lot of people glad that we've introduced AMX 20, some of the best races we've had in AMX at all. So make sure to stay tuned in for that next week as well. Our prize pool for this race goes as followed. Qualifying, you do get a first place of $15, second place $10, third $9, and it goes down to 15th place, as well as the same for heats number 1 and heat number 2, going all the way down 1st through 15th, and the fastest lap set gets an extra $2 with a total prize pool of $250. And make sure to keep in mind, for these AMX 5 iRacing races, a minimum I rating of 2,000 is required out here. So you have a 2,000 I rating and you said, hey, I want to get out there and potentially make me some money, we'd love to see you out here on the track. We do still have current promotion. Like I said, we're only a few weeks into this thing, so there's still plenty of time to get out on track. Save some money by heading over to the website and getting a season pass. So we have a season pass for AMX 5 iRacing, as well as AMX 5 Assetto Corsa Competizione and AMX 20. So once again, that site, amxrace.com, we got all the details there. Save some money and earn some money out here on the grid. So right now, we do have a couple things going on out here. So the famous Barcelona-Catalunya circuit, now currently home of the Spanish Grand Prix, at least for the next couple of years as far as we know. But like we said, out here in Barcelona in Spain, opened back in 1991. One of the newer tracks out on the Grand Prix circuit, has a length of 4.657 kilometers. So like we said, out here we have plenty of other races, not just Grand Prix, but like we said today in the LMP2 cars, this is going to be a great combination. So another quick vehicle. But speaking of that, like I mentioned, the Dallara, so LMP2 category, these are still being raced in the WEC as well as the IMSA series. So Dallara P217, man, that is such a beautiful car. One of the quickest cars that's still being ran out there outside of the hybrid cars. But like we said, they have 600 horsepower rear wheel drive, coming in at just under a ton, 930 kilos, and of course running through them flappy paddles behind the wheel, sequential gearbox. So a lot of these drivers, these are a fan favorite. These are a lot of drivers out on iRacing as well as real life. So like we said, the WEC / IMSA series vehicle out here, I expect this to be just as good as if we had some open wheel racing. So a little bit different though. These cars take a little bit more damage. So like we said, let's go ahead and check in on our drivers in qualifying, see how they're doing. Like we said, a lot of these drivers this season are racing 2 races per day. So we've seen the likes right now of Dino Filippa, who we are on board with right now. He was racing earlier on Assetto Corsa Competizione. He had to get off and hop on over here, as well as Gaio Valero, Jackson Asenge. So a few different people, Bruno De Carmo, we all got to see earlier on out there. So some of these guys you can see, Dino Filippa, he had a couple incidents, was putting on some great battles earlier on, and now is doing the same as, Peter Zuba just barely got the best of him. But like we said, we have plenty of time out here in this qualifying session. We are not even halfway through. But Julian, so we were out here in ACC earlier on. We got to see a little bit with some of these drivers, but now we are heading back over to iRacing.
Yeah, completely different car. First of all, these LMP2 cars are a lot lighter and a lot more power in those rear wheels. Both a completely different track. Barcelona-Catalunya has got everything. Sector 1, very quick. You've got turn 3, very fast right-hander. Sector 2, a lot more medium speed, especially turn 9 if you think about it. Very medium speed, got to still brake, but not a hard braking zone. But then Sector 3, a very slow sector. You got that Mickey Mouse chicane section, which then leads you on to the main straight, and that's pretty much a lap around Circuit Barcelona-Catalunya.
And speaking of this circuit, so of course a lot of people out there, racing fans, today was the Spanish Grand Prix, where of course we had Max Verstappen coming in first out there, with Lando Norris making it second, with McLaren and Lewis Hamilton back on the podium. So I know a lot of people excited about that. It was a great race. I didn't get to see the whole race, but definitely was watching a lot of the highlights before we were out here. Like I said, man, I think things are finally getting a lot closer in Formula One now that we're already several weeks in. But speaking of things heating up, things are heating up just as much out here in AMX 5, as we can see. Looking at the top time of Peter Zuba with a 1:35.2. So he's not too far ahead of Dino Filippa. So we'll have to see right now. Dino Filippa, though, not too happy with his lap, going off the track right there. So he'll have to reset and get back in this, head to the pits, come back out. But now we see the Drago Racing driver of Nico Wierzbicki. So Nico, he is no stranger to AMX, no stranger to the track at all. Again, one of these drivers that you will see a lot of times, not only in AMX 5, but for a lot of the iRacing official special events as well.
Yeah, like you mentioned, the time or the gap between P1 and P2 a lot less one-sided than we had just an hour or an hour and a half ago, with Simracing dominating. A lot closer, which you love to see. Battle for the leads, just there's so much more hype to it. Not to hurt against any battles, but when you're fighting for the lead, there's this special thing to it, as we're watching now Wierzbicki, Santiago on his not too far behind through turn 10, then rides that sausage curb, lifts the right side wheels off the ground there for a second, maybe running a bit too wide out there. He's now got the final sector to go, currently on a 135 fourth, only 2/10 away from provisional pole position. However, as Kevin mentioned earlier, it is reverse 15. He is actually coming into the pit lane, which we'll see the fast guys trying to make their way through the slightly midfield runners, as it'll be down to whoever gets through the field a lot easier.
And out here today with 20 drivers out on the grid, it usually depends how much pressure is going to put on these guys that are now sitting in the bottom 5. So sitting off of that top 15 reverse grid spots, you know, it's not too much pressure whenever we only have, you know, maybe 15 drivers out here or less, because at least, you know, all right, if I'm not the fastest, I can definitely get a good grid position, but definitely putting the pressure on those guys such as Basarica, Villarreal, Tim State, Evandro Dantas, and Gaston Kulavi. So those guys are on the bubble right now, hoping to get in a little bit more lap time out here, improve upon that, and be able to make that top 15 reverse grid. So right now, we have about 7 minutes left in this qualifying heat session. We have plenty of great teams out here. So like we always see, the guys from Sart, Drago Racing, Team Redline, Delita Esports, which a lot of people know, also known as Tony Kanan's esports team as well. So I see out here Diogo Pinto, Nico Wierzbicki, so many amazing sim racers out here. That's how you know, especially the likes your leader right now still, Peter Zuba, followed by Marcos Saavedra. So a lot of these guys we've also seen last weekend with the AMX 20 race, laying it out all on the line up on Mount Panorama. So I would expect nothing less, especially out here having ridiculously fast cars on a ridiculously fast track. So out here, Catalonia, this is probably one of my favorite Grand Prix tracks out of all of the Grand Prix tracks. So we'll just have to wait and see, though, as anything can happen. A lot of places are shifting, and it looks like as it sits right now, less than a second between your top 17 drivers and less than half a second between your top 14. So that just goes to show these guys putting ridiculous pace out here today.
Yeah, and with gaps that close, any mistake or running a bit too wide, getting on a fat sausage curb or locking up, any mistake like that can not lose you a position, but lose you 2, 3, maybe even 4 positions, as Carmo now going P6 there with a lap of 135.4. So very close. Any mistake is crucial, but if the gaps are this close in qualifying, it's going to be even closer in the race. So I think we're in for a cracking Heat 1, but also Heat 2.
And now looking at the timing screen, so we do also have Peter Zuba, who is broken into the 134s. So being able to best his time, but right now it does look like we have Tomas Simon. So we got to see him, another guy that he's a very quick. He has over a 9,000 I rating out here. So we know that he is no stranger to the podium throughout his career, but definitely out here in AMX, we do have some of the best sim racers in the world. So don't let the I rating fool you, because that is pretty average out here. It's very common to see a lot of these guys 8,000, 9,000, 10, even 11,000 I rating at time, along with professional drivers at times. So we'll just have to see, like I said, but it's not always about being the fastest. It is about racecraft and winning those races. So Toby Soriano going into the pits now. He'll have just maybe a couple more laps to try and get up and best Peter Zuba, but Peter Zuba doing an amazing job so far, holding on to the top spot.
Yeah, and already just under 4 minutes remaining. This qualifying session has absolutely flown by as we ride on board with Saavedra, who is making his way through the heart of the track, pretty much in the slap bang middle of sector 2. Through turn 9, like I mentioned, medium speed, you want to ride the curve, run it out wide, and now you're flat for very short straight, can still be an overtaking zone into a fairly heavy braking zone of turn 10, as you can see on the bottom of your screen. Tomas Simon going purple in sector 1.
So right there, just a reminder for everyone watching at home, when you do see purple sectors, that means that they have set the fastest sector. Green is an improvement over their own best, and then yellow is showing of no improvement. So right here, Tomas Simon, purple, green, green, showing that he's doing it, and boom, that puts him right up into second place over Toby Soriano. So Tomas Simon right now leading into second place. Absolutely great. We seen him last weekend in AMX 20. Didn't really have the best race that he wanted, but he's coming out here with a vengeance this weekend in AMX 5. So great to see that, especially from some of these drivers. We have a lot of people that are very familiar names, and we have some like Tomas Simon that we don't see quite as often in the races. So it's great to see some other drivers being up on the leaderboards as well.
Yeah, that proves our point that racing is a lot closer here in the LMP2s. It's on P2 by a bit more than half a tenth of a second as Benitez goes P6 with a 135.3. Just to put this into perspective for you guys at home, P4 to P9 are all within the 135.3, so not even tenths. Hundreds are going to gain you positions, just like hundreds are going to lose you positions, like I've said before. It is all to play for with just under 2 minutes left in this qualifying session.
And out here, like I said, these cars are just ridiculously fast. So a lot of people, especially following the WEC, famously, these guys, this is one of the most competitive classes out there for one of the most famous races in the world, that being the 24-hour of Le Mans, which just happened last weekend, and as well this weekend we have out the 6 hours of the Glen in real life. So these cars, like I said, definitely a fan favorite for iRacing, but also a favorite out there in real life. I've seen someone out here having the AO Racing on the side of their car. That's probably one of my favorite real life liveries. They have Spike. So for those of you that don't know, with the LMP2 car of AO Racing has the purple dragon livery on the side. One of the coolest, in my opinion, in endurance racing currently. So no one out here driving that one, but definitely a lot of different team liveries. Seen another one out here of Petr Zuba as well, Race Clutch Racing. So a lot of the top teams in all of iRacing out here today, showing why they are the best of the best.
While you were talking there, Kevin, we've got a new provisional pole sitter in the form of Diego Pinto. He managed to pick Petr Zuba for now, that is. Of course, we've still got some time left as these are the final couple of laps you are seeing, as right now we are watching Sanoa, who's making his way now through the chicane, drops down massively, a lot more than you expect, which is tough on braking. You want to trail brake a lot more than hard on the throttle on exit in the Scarlet Red. Not sure if that's a Ferrari. The livery looks like it. There is a Ferrari badge on it.
And just like that, our qualifying session comes to an end. So with the last minute upset in qualifying, Diogo Pinto able to get that top spot over Petr Zuba. But like we said, top 15 reverse grid. Now these guys are going to have to fight their way all the way from P15, P14, going all the way to the top. So big congratulations to your BenQ session winner, Diogo Pinto, out here, the Team Redline driver with a 134.954. So getting into the 134 is just absolutely insane in these vehicles. Followed by Petr Zuba in second, who was holding on to that qualifying top spot for quite a while. But second place, is still not a bad place to be in. Tomas Simon in third, Tobias Soriano fourth, Marco Saavedra fifth, Dino Filippa in sixth place, Alberto Senao seventh, Ralph Benitez eighth, Nico Wierzbicki in ninth, Bruno De Carmo in 10th, Pedro Dean 11th, David Givak 12th, Gaston Kulavi 13th, Jackson Senjay 14th, and William Baraviera rounding out your top 15. So again, the top 15 reverse grid. You have to get top 15 if you want championship points, if you want money to be heading your way. So we have a full grid out here from top to bottom, but it will be William Baraviera out there sitting on pole going into heat number 1. So the Brazilian driver out there in the number 7 car, followed by another very familiar Brazilian driver of Jackson Asenge in the Delinte Esports vehicle. So a lot of times too, people are like, all right, you see the big D on there for you. That is for Delinte, but also a lot of people know them, Tony Kanan Esports. So very, very good team battles out here going on. Been crazy all weekend long. So here we go. We're moments away from the green flag out here at Barcelona-Catalunya. AMX 5 Race 20 about to go underway.
Yeah, once
So it is
again,
now the calm
rolling
before the
start.
storm as the safety car goes off. So, Julian, what do you hope to see the most out here in heat number 1?
Well, if we take a look at qualifying, top 3 separated by less than a tenth of a second, so I'm expecting a great battle between those 3. Also in the mid-pack, very tight. I think there's going to be battles up and down the field as they're now snaking their way through the final sector, warming up those cars. Final preparations have begun, and we're just meters away from racing in Heat 1.
So there we go. Like we said, folks, you can see on the front of the pack, we do have the 2 teammates, Barviera and Resenge, being able to set that. So you love when your teammate can be at the front of the pack, as now we'll have to see which of these drivers get a good start as the green flag is waving. These drivers right there, the lead pulling away. So pole position getting a great job, as well as we know Jackson and Sanjay, it's going to be a battle. A lot of these drivers have their work cut out for them to make their way back to the top of the pack. So we have right now going into turn 1 so far, keeping it very, very clean. I love to see it. Turn 1 out here in Barcelona. It could be extremely dangerous. Oh, going 3 wide there for a second. So 3 wide, 2 wide. I'm glad that this racetrack is a very, very wide racetrack indeed. So we'll have to see out here going around. So turn 3, turn 4. Oh no, it looks like one of the drivers going off just a little bit wide, setting him back down. That may have been Bruno De Carmo. So a lot of these guys, man, just middle of the pack. Oh, we have a spin out right there. No, that is Reutman, looking like he got involved in a little bit of incident, as well as Tim State. But luckily, they're able to make their way back on. Hopefully, they don't have too much damage.
Yeah, there was a lockup somewhere down at turn 5, which caused the spin of the car, and just unfortunately that they get caught up in there. But still, top 3 unchanged and unremained, as it was 3 abreast through turn 3 for a split second there. Luckily, these cool, calm-headed drivers deciding against it, as we've got 12 laps here. It is pretty much a sprint race, but 12 laps, you've got enough time to make up progress, to gain back some positions you might have lost, or to absolutely go for it for the lead. But the 2 teammates remain in P1 and P2.
And here we see, so things still extremely close throughout the entire grid, with Barviera able to still hold on to that top spot, as well as Jackson Sanjay. So those 2 drivers right now still holding on to their grid. David Givok able to go up 1 place into 3rd. So we have to see exactly what these guys can do, but we know from previous races, a couple of these guys specifically, Jackson Sanjay, great defender. Now we have Dino Filippo, who we've seen earlier, as well as we have Peter Zuba, your fastest in qualifying. Peter Zuba still only able to make up 1 position so far. So we'll have to see once these drivers really start finding their groove and start having it, but definitely with a stacked grid out here. We have several pro sim racers out here on the track with us today. It is definitely going to be extremely difficult for any of these guys to make up positions. It's really going to come down to how comfortable these guys are out on the track in these cars. And also keep in mind, these cars, unlike some of the other vehicles like we've seen the GT3 cars earlier today, don't have the same driver aids. We can see the race start incident right there. Ooh, just a little bit unfortunate right there, going a little wide, had someone going to the outside and just collecting a couple cars. So it looks like Tim State was able to get around there without getting any damage, but like I said, shaking up the back of the grid back there, lap number 1. But lap number 2 is going good so far. A lot of these guys finally found the train, so now it's going to be every little tiny moment that they can find to make those passes.
And of course, car control is a big part. Being right up behind a car without crashing like we saw in turn 5 or losing time. You want to be right behind them, heading out on especially this main straight, arguably the best opportunity to overtake through turn 1. You want to be right up behind them, as just looks like 20 or 10 LMP2 cars snaking away through the sector 1 so far, sorry. But still, we've got Dean right behind. That lime green reminds me a lot about the Stake F1 livery, very in your face, the highlighter as it's called, but he's right up behind Kulavi.
And now we've seen the last few races, Pedro Dean running a different livery than he used to. So I love the livery on the vehicles. So as well as we have Pedro Dean, as well as Vinicius Dean, who the two Dean brothers, a lot of times we'll see them both out here in the races. But like we've seen from last season and into this season as well, Pedro Dean has now been towards the front of the pack quite a bit. So definitely has absolutely amazing racecraft out here today, as we can see him trying to hunt down Gaston Kulavi. Like we said, another great driver right behind him. He has to keep in his rear view mirror Nico Wierzbicki. So the Drago Racing driver also out here on the track as well. So like we said, not just a battle of racers out here, but also a battle of teams. These guys always battling it out for the iRacing special events, as well as a lot of the other series that are going on. So I know right now too, a couple of these drivers out there battling it out. They were last weekend at the 6 Hours of Glen in iRacing, as well as a few people that we have seen in previous seasons, maybe not seen quite as much this season, but that's because, hey, they have their own other things going on with their teammates as well. So best of luck to all the drivers that unfortunately have not been able to make it out here for AMX Season 5, but we do know you guys are out there pushing it to the limit, and we love having your teammates out here on track with us. So back to the front of the pack, Jackson Assange looking to, you know, he's going to have to work together really a lot, and I think that's really why these two have been able to really keep that lead this entire race. Assange and Baraviera, both of these teammates out here running the same livery, been trying to just walk away from the rest of the pack.
Yeah, and you saw on the heads-up display earlier, Jackson Assange almost 2/10 quicker in the final sector. That is the low speed, so maybe running a slightly different setup compared to his teammate who still leads away, but the top two unchanged. And like Kevin mentioned there, it's all down to knowing your teammate and knowing what's best for the team. And right now they're managing that absolutely brilliantly. As you see, Baraviera's on board. He's got a car right behind him, currently in the middle of the pack. He's not, or in front, sorry. He's not too worried about his teammate behind for now.
So with these guys out here, I would assume that they may be on comms with each other, or they may have their spotters out there too. So another great thing whenever you do have teammates out there is, you know, sometimes you can definitely rely on being out there to spot, being out there to work together. So what we're going right now, the battle towards the middle of the pack, looking like we have Gaston Kulavi, Pedro Dean, and Nico Wierzbicki. So Pedro Dean able to just overtake Kulavi earlier, and now sitting in that fourth place position. So I love the lime green and purple. Like I said, one of the liveries that stands out the most, definitely out here in AMX. But we do know Kulavi, a veteran driver himself, as well as Nikodem Wierzbicki. These guys, they are not wanting to be off the podium, so definitely expect things to be heating up. We are now lap number 5 of 12 out here in heat number 1.
And we saw Nikodem there swerving away at his steering wheel. And like you mentioned, Kevin, in the previous race, battling around P5 seems to be the thing for AMX Global at this time. And we've got it once again, this time around Barcelona and in LMP2 cars. But this little battle here, look at this train starting to form as Nikodem really pushing Pedro through these corners as onto the main straight they go. I would not be surprised if we see a move here.
And speaking about people making moves, your qualifying top qualifier, Diogo Pinto, only able to go up 2 places now, so nearly halfway through this race. and you have the fastest guy on the track only up a couple positions, as well as Peter Zuba still staying in that 14th place position from the grid. So that just goes to show exactly how much of a crazy grid we have out here today, how well all of these drivers are out here in these LMP2 cars. So we'll have to see though, because like we said, going from heat number 1 to heat number 2, there is another top 15 reverse grid. So we'll see if that plays into a strategy at all. Again, getting points for qualifying, we'll have to see if we have Diogo Pinto or Peter Zuba being able to see if that plays into a strategy. Maybe they want to stay towards the back and worry about those points for heat number 2. But right now the battle is ensuing as we have Alberto Senao and Marco Saavedra. So two amazing drivers right here running both the red livery. So one in the Ferrari, one of them not. But nonetheless, these guys, again, the battles in the middle of the pack may be some of the best battles going on out here. We've seen that last season and this season as well. You always want the excitement for first place, but definitely the excitement for 5th, 6th, 7th place. Every single point matters. Every position matters for these drivers.
And that just brings to the point that qualifying does not decide anything. Yes, the top 15 were separated by a second, but right now P14 and P15 were qualified there. I've got this race under control while the guys starting at the front struggling to get past. I wouldn't necessarily say this is an overtaking rich circuit, but it's not that difficult. You might see an overtake here with, Felipe staying at the back of Nedum. He's going to have a look to the inside. He is going to go for it. To the inside, there's contact, and that was a bit half-hearted there. Down the inside, kind of stuck his nose in there and hoped it worked out. Not fully committed. Kevin, what's your take on that incident?
Oh man, I mean, we might just have to get a replay just to see from a different angle exactly how that went. But like we said, we've seen time and time again, Dino Felipe is definitely a very aggressive driver, so he will take anything that he can. He's definitely one of those drivers that even the slightest amount of space, he's going to try and make that work, going to try and find every bit of grip out there. And sometimes, unfortunately, you don't end up making it and you end up going off of the track. So we'll just have to see now. He has his work cut out. He's currently sitting on 15th position. So with a little bit more than halfway through this race, he may just also stay towards the back of the pack, try to make it up in heat number 2. But right now, again, still we have Marco Saavedra, Diogo Pinto finally able to make up several more spaces, as well as we have Peter Zuba. So these guys that were at the back of the pack, once that halfway mark came, they started turning on the afterburners, saying, all right, now it's time to start making moves. Now it's time to start getting back onto the podium. So they only have about 5 laps left to get on the podium. We'll have to wait and see if they can do it.
As we now head onto the main straight, and it seemed like the number 12 car of Saavedra was very slow there through the final corner. Not sure if he had a bit of a mistake there, but he's absolutely blitzed by as there's more overtaking towards turn 1. You got Peter Zuba now looking to make the move on the inside. There's more contact, and that's all. And engine cover has gone off. There's carbon fiber everywhere. Those cars are pretty much naked now, the 2 red cars.
Just an unfortunate incident right there. So like we've seen right there, Peter Zuba, Marco Saavedra, those guys, they were putting on such a great battle throughout the entire race, but now they're going to have to send it back to pit lane. And unfortunately, right now we do have, for the ones that are going to be pitting, that may put them right outside the top 15, as we have it right here between Felipe and Pierzbisky, the incident that happened earlier. So Felipe trying to go to the inside and just, oh man, I'm not really sure. That was a really hard one to do. They were both in that braking zone already. Like I said, Felipe did already poke his nose to the inside. Pierzbisky really wide on the outside trying to set it up. But nonetheless, the result was still the same of 2 drivers trying to be extremely aggressive, extremely close racing. And unfortunately for Felipe, that put him back several places.
For me on that incident, Pierzbisky, yes, he could have left a bit more space, but Dino Felipe goes in there a bit half-hearted, just sticking the nose in, not really committing to it, but also not staying behind. That's just a racing incident that happens. It was a lot like what we just saw on lap 8, where someone gets tagged on the rear and just people behind that unfortunately getting caught up. But we're now lap 9 out of 12. This race has absolutely flown by. We got 3 laps remaining then, and the lead has remained unchanged off the start. Where the fighting has been, as we said, has been in the mid-pack then, mostly between this man right here, Pedro Dean, in the very bright lime green, purple and black livery.
And also, just a reminder for everyone out there, so we do have our official racing stewards of the KARA, Korean Automotive Racing Association, which is subsidiary of the FIA. So we do have professional stewards out here. We do definitely want to make this as professional as possible. We get some of the best drivers, and when we do have incidents that are that close, we get some of the best in the business to make sure that they're reviewing some of these things. If drivers protest, if teams protest, no matter what goes on, we'll have to see. So we do have official officiating reports going in. As we can see right here at the crash on lap 8, right there in the bottom right hand of the screen, these drivers just going in just a little bit hot into that turn number 1. And unfortunately, when you're going in that hot, getting that close, there is bound to be contact. So we see Peter Zuba right there getting clipped around and unfortunately just collecting several cars in that incident. So for some of those guys behind them, they were just innocent bystanders in that one. There was no getting around it, but that's what happens when we are out here pushing it as hard as they are, racing as close as they possibly can.
As close as they can indeed, especially if you're less than a car's length behind the car in front of you. There's not much you can do to react there. It's you're just a passenger at that point. But that's what happens when you're so close together, and that's it's the truth, unfortunately. But I saw a chat there which Jackson is saying they're losing pace. The gap now 1.7 seconds. So maybe he's pushed it too hard and now he needs to calm it down, or is that just that our leader, Baraviera, has kept something extra in the pocket that which he can punch out in these final couple of laps.
Yeah, here. So like we said at the very beginning of the race start, it is an excellent thing to have your teammate up towards the front of the starting grid with you, and it has definitely worked out in their favor, as we can see, especially when you have a defender as good as Jackson Asenge. So he knows, even though there is a gap between him and Baraviera, that he wants to be on that top spot. Jackson Asenge still being an amazing team player and holding off David Givok. So David Givok also AMX regular out here. We know he has excellent pace, that he can do a lot out on these tracks. So especially he's proven that today out here in these LMP2 vehicles. And as well as, like we said, the most gained so far has been Diogo Pinto up 6 positions, Evandro Dantas up 8 positions. So still some of those guys that were best in qualifying, or even just having to avoid some of those incidents, now being able to take advantage of it, get their pace, get a little bit more comfortable, and start slowly making their way up through the grid. But currently it is all Baraviera, Jackson Asenge, and David Givok, your top 3 going into lap 11.
And David Givok might be getting a bit impatient as he sees he sniffs the opportunity for a P2 if he just gets a good run out of these corners and manages to stick. We see there in your bottom left corner Jackson swerving away at the steering wheel, just manages to keep the car under control. Very much 2 different face expressions we see there, one very calm and one fully immersed into it. Which one's going to come out on top? But right now it's looking like it's Jackson, who's been in P2 for 11 laps. He just needs to do that for a bit more than 4.5 kilometers.
And just looking, like you said, the calmness on these drivers sometimes scares me, of just how calm they can be whenever they are this close to each other. Like we said, we have a few drivers. I love just being able to see the driver cams, not only to be able to play I Spy with whatever is in the background, but also just to see the calmness, the coolness, collectedness on their faces. Oh, it looks like Givok getting a little bit squirrely right there, spinning out. So now he's going to have to wait for the traffic. Does not want to cause an incident here, but what was a podium position, now he goes all the way back down to 11th place. So just like that, as the white flag flies, your top 3 now, Brazil on top of the podium. Baraviera in first, Asenge in second, and Pedro Dean in 3rd place.
Maybe a slight bit of commentator's curse as well, I say, as he was able to take P2, but now you've got Pinto under pressure from Bruno De Carmo right behind him on the final lap as well. So this is all for position. You can see how close and how confident these drivers are to just have. They know exactly where the front end of their car is. They know this hand as well as the back of this car as well as the back of the hand. As just not working out, but he might have to set up for P9. He's got pretty much one more opportunity, as we see in the bottom right. Just Zwiebel wanting a bit too much of the rear end of the car there, and stays still, probably the best he can do, then decides to reverse, not wanting to cause a mass collision. This is the part now where there might be a move. He switches it from the right to the left. To the inside goes Carmo, but now a switchback. What a switchback from Bruno Carmo. That was absolutely brilliant. He saw that, he took that outside. You guys go wide. Thank you very much. I'll take that.
So like I said, just beautiful, beautiful passing move out here. So Bruno De Carmo taking advantage of the two in front of him, banging it. But now we're going, as we have Baraviero crossing the checkered flag, Sanjay second, Pedro Dean third, and we have a bit of a drag race going on between a couple of the guys further back in the pack. So Diogo Pinto able to make his way back up from 15 up to 8th place, as well as a few other drivers. So Pedro Dean up a couple spots, but it is all about your top two. They may have not done the best in qualifying, but they took advantage of that top 15 reverse grid. Jackson Sanjay second, William Baraviera in first, and since the very beginning of the grid, they were able to hold on to it, work together, but now we'll have to see in heat number 2 what happens, as they will get shuffled down to P15 and P14. We have the last few drivers coming across. A few unfortunate incidences that put some of these guys back further than they hoped they would be. They were doing very, very well, but unfortunately things just got a little bit too aggressive out here. Some of the drivers making the littlest mistakes, and this is where we ended up. So Saavedra still in the pits, looking to get that redemption for heat number 2, as well as Peter Zuba, Tomas Simon, Diego Villarreal. They will have their work cut out for them. They're going to be on the bubble. They just missed out on that top 15, so they'll have even more to fight their way back through the field come heat number 2. So now we have, like you said, Tomas Simon rounding it out back onto the home stretch. So folks, that is where we sit for your heat number 1, as the unofficial results are coming in now. Like we said, a couple things. We'll have to see what the racing stewards have to say. Maybe it was racing incident, maybe it was a bit crazy aggressive driving. Glad I do not have to make those decisions. But here's your BenQ session winner of William Baraviera, the Brazilian 1-2-3, Jackson Sanjay coming in second, and Pedro Dean in third place, as well as a lot of other names we see atop the leaderboards. Gaston Culavi in fourth, Nikodem Wierzbicki in fifth place, Ralph Benitez sixth, Bruno De Carmo seventh, Diogo Pinto making his way up to 8th place, Alberto Senao 9th, Dino Filippa 10th place, David Givok 11th, Evandro Dantas 12th, Tim State 13th, Arjen Reutman down to 14th, Toby Soriano in 15th. So that is rounding out your top 15 again. You have to make it into the top 15 to get that reverse grid. Baraviera also having all that clean air out in front of him, as well as not having to worry about too much about what is behind him, able to set the fastest lap. So Baraviera with the win and fastest lap there, but now he's going to have to prove himself to get all the way through the grid, as the vehicles are now about to get ready. We have the Porsche safety car out, getting ready for heat number 2.
Of course, leading away from pole position is nowhere near the same as battling your way through. We've seen that, especially for the likes of Peter Zuba, you can get caught in incidents just like that, where Peter Zuba got caught. So battling through, you need to be aggressive, but also clean, and make sure nothing goes wrong.
So here we go, folks. Moments away from going green as we go into the final turn. Who will have a great start? We'll just have to wait and see as the green flag starts waving. Here we go. Tobias Soriano leading it, but Arjen Reutman, another amazing driver, closely behind. So here we go, folks. We'll see if we have another 3 wide start going into turn number 1. It's going to be an absolute banger of a race out here. Heat number 1 right now, as we already have a spin out right there going towards the back of the pack. I see Pedro Dean getting taken out, as well as that may have been Tomas Simon. So a lot of stuff going on right here towards the back. We're going to have to absolutely get a replay to see what unfolded right there. Going turns number 1, turn number 2, right away, lap 1.
Yeah, I think I saw a car in the air there of Dean there, Pedro Dean, which very surprising. There were a whole gang of cars pointing the wrong direction, and I just want to say, absolutely brilliant move on the outside of turn 3 by, I forgot what car it was. I think it was this guy right here, or Savadre in the red car going around the outside of turn 3. Absolutely brilliant move, but pure chaos it seemed like going into turns 1 and 2 chicane.
So that'll do it as we see right now. Bruno De Carmo still sitting in the pits. Oh, another spin out right there. Evandro Dantas. Oh, and also getting tagged as well. So you may have just been able to walk away with that, but now incurring some additional damage. So unfortunately, Evandro Dantas now sitting back down all the way to P18. So a lot of these guys that got into these early incidents, it may very well be their race for heat number 2. So we'll have to see as the things are heating up right now towards the middle of the pack. Ralph Benitez is currently sitting in that P11, but he's looking to overtake Nico Bierzbisky. We have Marco Saavedra up another place. Tim State heading into that pit lane right now, so we'll have to see who else ends up going into that from those lap 1 incidents. But right now, it is Tobias Soriano in first place, followed by Ayrton Royman in second, and Dino Filippa in third place. So we have the Argentina 1, 2, 3 going on into lap number 2.
Must be a very proud nation, as we see now overtake into turn 4. You usually don't see overtakes there, but Zvivok getting passed by Zuba overtaking, yeah. As now the switchback from right to left, it seems like tucking into the slipstream, just so difficult to make any moves in sector 2 at all with these medium speeds. You can't really outbrake someone because just a light tap on the brakes, get the car rotated in. That's about it. We are coming up to the first overtaking spot. In the middle, someone onto the gravel there. I think that was Peter. Further up the road, though, Dino Filippa up the inside of Ayrton Reutemann as he gets that move done and dusted through turn 9.
So we can see just the slightest bit of a gap going on now. Your top 3, well, even Toby Soriano now has about a second and a half over second place of Dino Filippa. So Filippa having to clear that out, but we'll see if Tobias Soriano is able to hold on to P1. He has a little bit of a gap and a lot of fresh air in front of him, so now is going to be the time to try and extend that gap as he just sets great lap times. A lot of these drivers right now, Diogo Pinto, though, who we've seen was fastest in qualifying, able to get up quite a bit on the grid so far. But we see in the bottom right now, the race start crash. So once again, these drivers, just going in. That looks like that may have been the car of Bruno De Carmo. I do see the Delinta Esports, but the Brazilian driver right there taking out. And you were right, up in the air goes Pedro Dean. So Pedro Dean getting sandwiched, getting flown into the air, and a couple other drivers right there too as well getting taken out. So those couple of incidences right there in lap number 1 definitely changed the pace of this race. So right now we're back looking at David Givok trying to battle it out with Thomas Simon as well as Benitez right in front of them. So lap 3, and things have already been absolute chaos, absolutely going crazy out here. I think we've seen a lot more action just in 3 laps than we've seen for most of the last heat.
Yeah, of course. Not sure if it's due to the chaos we had in the previous one, that turn 1 crash, or if it's just these drivers realizing this is the last opportunity to get some valuable points, as now a move through turn 12 side by side to the inside went Simon, and he gets that move, and now Benitez losing 2 spots as well, as and now someone else on the inside through the chicane. That's very ambitious. I was gonna say, on lap 1 it seemed like we had 2 different airplane moments. Another guy over the sausage curb getting launched, but very chaotic opening 3-4 laps as everyone seems to hopefully calm it down now in the sake of their race. But as a commentator, I'm absolutely loving this.
And there we see making his way up through the field, already up 4 places. Diogo Pinto now looking to make his move over Arjen Reutemann, but Reutemann doing a great job. Ooh, and there looks like a little bit of contact right there as Diogo Pinto tries to go on the outside, and a great job defending. So right there, just a little, oh no, and oh, we'll have to see from that camera angle. I'm not sure if that was intentional or not, but nonetheless, we have Diogo Pinto going right into the backwards. So I'm not sure if that was just a little bit of later braking and he ended up into the back of Reutemann, or if he just said, all right, you know what, you got me on that one, I'm gonna get you on this one. A little bit of back and forth. We'll have to get a different angle of that later on, but right now, the battle ensues as Arjen Reutemann not only having to try to overtake Diogo Pinto once again, but also Alberto Senal taking advantage of the battle, looking for any opportunity as he goes on the outside as well. So Reutemann going for that inside line right now into another left-hander. Will he be able to hold it on? We do know that Diogo Pinto has the pace, had a little bit better speed going into that, and these guys still again causing a spin out. So Diogo Pinto getting spun out right there by Arjen Reutemann. So the two battling it out back and forth. Definitely had that rival going on this entire lap, and unfortunately Diogo Pinto now taking it back to the pits. So drivers getting a little bit more aggressive out here in heat number 2.
Tell you what, it seems like there was a magnet at the back of the car on the front of the other one. They just could not kept on. They just kept on colliding the front bumper to rear bumper, and then third time it got a bit too much and ended up with a spin there. Very unfortunate the way it ended, but that is how it is. Just sometimes behind the car, the dirty air playing a role. Braking is different, aero is slightly different as well. And that's what sets the good apart from the great. These drivers absolutely fantastic, but being able to predict that is a whole nother level. Then again, I don't play iRacing at all. I've got no idea how these cars react.
So yeah, right there, like we said, that is just unfortunate. So that led Reutemann right now holding on to 6th place. So one of those things that we said we unfortunately have happened out here. So there's a few mistakes, a few people just trying to battle it out, get everything, and sometimes when push comes to shove, you get pushed, you push back, and door bang, bumper to bumper, anything goes sometimes. So like I said, we may have to see after the race what exactly happened there going into that. But for right now, it is Nico Wierzbicki that we're watching trying to hold off Thomas Simon. So both of these drivers, of course, been showing great pace out here all race long. We'll see. We know Nico Wierzbicki wants to put Team Drago up there on the podium. So we're only lap 5 into this 12-lap heat. We'll have to see again. We've already seen absolute chaos going out here, so we really mean it when we say anything can happen. Even though these guys may be in the middle of the pack, we've seen that last heat. Some of those guys went from the middle up towards the front, as we have Thomas Simon looking to make the overtake, taking the outside line right now, trying to set it up. But an excellent job of defending. Ooh, is a little bit of contact right there between Wierzbicki and Thomas Simon, leading Wierzbicki to be able to get that front run into turn number 1.
Yeah, Thomas Simon, he had the slipstream down towards turn 1, and that ended up being enough to get the move. As here we have the incident once again between Pinto and Reutemann, getting pinned onto the curb, and then in slow-mo as well, trying to hang it around the outside, maybe a slight snap of oversteer, and then it's the smallest of contact really, but then a second bang, which somehow sees both cars get off worse, and luckily the red car there not being involved in the accident at all.
So right there, like you mentioned, so unfortunately, looks like Diogo Pinto ended up getting the worst of that. Alberto Senal able to avoid it and is currently sitting in 3rd place. So we'll have to see once again. That's why I love getting that replay from a slightly different angle. You know, we weren't sure of like, all right, was that just one driver running into the back of the other? But like we've seen there, looked like just the slightest bit of oversteer. These guys are pushing it past the limits of these cars, so trying to hold it right on the limit. Again, a lot of these guys out here they do this for their day job. These are pro sim racers as well. Like I mentioned, we get a lot of real life drivers in here. So, ooh, a beautiful move though. Thomas Simon trying to overtake Nico Wierzbicki once again, going to the outside. Wierzbicki trying to squeeze him out, and again, just the littlest of taps, letting Wierzbicki get the better line going into turn 1 and turn 2. So we have right now though Thomas Simon showing an absolute great pace. He's just trying to make that overtake, but Again, textbook defending from Nikodem Wierzbicki.
Absolute textbook defending. They covered the inside, then moves back to the racing line. All fair, leaves enough space, gets the inside line, and that is exactly how you're meant to do it, cleanly. And Thomas Simon is going to bite his time, and he needs to set up another move. He's running out of ideas. Laps 7 out of 12, 5 to go after this one then. But still, everyone very closely. But still, Soriano out in front ahead of Tino Filippa. But now you've got a Portuguese-Spanish guy in P3.
And for those, so we do have chat coming across the screen. So a lot of people asking about netcode. So for some of those people that don't know what netcode is, that refers to where the server has the cars on grid. So with everyone being spread throughout the world, definitely netcode can come into play of these guys trying to play as close to each other as they can, but sometimes the server thinks they may be a little bit closer than they are. So like I said, it is great though that we do have replays. We do have the KARA officials out here too, able to watch back those replays to make sure that there's no foul play, make sure that if there is, people will get penalties, and also when there are racing incidences as well, who's going to get some of those post-race penalties. So a lot of these guys, like I said, it is very, it's a little bit harder than real life, but once again, some of these drivers may be pushing it a little bit more than they would. You don't have that risk of destroying millions of dollars of equipment out here on the track, but like we said, a lot of these guys, their heart is in it. So although we're in iRacing, definitely the racing is just as close as real life, if not closer. So a lot of these guys doing an amazing job out here. Thomas Simon, Nico Wierzbicki, the battle still continues as we're in lap number 8 out here in Heat 2.
It does. Thomas Simon, he's analyzing that exhaust of Wierzbicki's car as he's right up behind, just missing that extra 2, 3, 4 horsepower, it seems like, on the main straight, on this straight as well. He needs to try and set up a move. We know he was very close just a couple of laps ago. Can it be this lap? He's closer than ever. Just stick right behind him through the final sector. Easier said than done, though, as this is the Mickey Mouse section as they snake up the crest, and now they've got the chicane, and then, oh, he's going for a move hit. That is very ambitious. He had a look. Thought the better of it though, as just letting Wierzbicki know, I'm here and I will find you and I will get you, as getting him might happen right here and right now on the main straight.
So seeing right there too of Thomas Simon, all this battle going on now. He has to worry about Ralph Benitez as well as Marcos Saavedra right behind them. So it was a two-way battle now turning into a multi-car battle as they go into turn number 1. So looking for the peak for the inside now, able to snake in right behind each other. But like we said right here, Ralph Benitez has Marcos Saavedra right on his tail. So we'll see coming out of this next turn once they get a little bit on the straight if he's going to use that draft to try and slingshot around him. As we see Thomas Simon looking to the inside, but still unable to go as, looking to force his way through the inside, and a little bit of contact going on. Now it looks like him and Nico Wierzbicki. So Thomas Simon trying to take the inside line, getting a bit aggressive and pushing Wierzbicki out, but Wierzbicki able to hold onto it, and that puts Thomas Simon a couple positions. Those drivers right behind him able to take advantage of that. So now it's going to be Wierzbicki trying to hold off Ralph Benitez and Marcos Saavedra as well.
That door banging through 4 and into 5 there, as you mentioned, 2-car battle suddenly doubles in size. It's now 4-car battle as they do go side by side in the background there. All 3 of them are looking to make some moves. Simon now needs to make up for lost ground after his little moment there. Does not do that though. He's actually lost out. So just like that, you can go from fighting to for P8 to being down in P11.
So now we see, a bit more contact, Nico Wierzbicki. So these guys now playing a bit of bumper cars and taking out another bystander. So Wierzbicki, though, able to get out of that, get back right on the track. But we have the 2 Delinta esports drivers out there as well, not able to go very far. So that looked like Jackson Senjay, Baraviera as well towards the back. So, man, just unfortunate for some of these guys. Ralph Benitez now dropping all the way down to 14th place. Who else do we have back there that now they're going to have to worry about battling out? Avandro Dantas, Tim stay towards the back. They're going to have to worry about now. So Tomas making another move right now over Nico Wierzbicki. So these guys they are not giving up that position. They are wanting to battle scrap left and right, going through a little bit of contact here and there, making it absolutely close. But we see again Paraviera now right on the rear end of Nikodem Wierzbicki. So what happened there after that incident now shook things up quite a bit more. It was one of those that they were trying to claw their way up to a podium, but now they're just trying to survive to hold on to every single position they have as the back of the pack finally caught up to them.
Yeah, it's almost a survival race out there. Once again, a lot like the turn 1 incident. The drivers behind, just nothing they can do. Literal passengers, it seems like, as you start to accelerate. Oh, and now there's a car pointing towards you. But now, very aggressive move from Barriera. He's overshot it. He's off the track. He's taking the MotoGP layout there, it seems like. Gets back onto the track and stays in P11. Wierzbicki just staying in front for now. But he knows that he is under threat. But that was a bit too much and a bit too late from Barriera.
So these drivers, like we said, with only knowing that they only have a couple laps left, are just going to be pushing everything they can. As we can see right there, the crash on lap number 9. So we had, right there, just into the side, took it too hot, going into Nico Wierzbicki. And unfortunately, that just puts him right there and collects another couple of cars right there. So the guys that were able to get around, then Nico Wierzbicki ends up turning him back. So, man, that... Again, some absolute carnage going out here on the track out here for heat number 2. We've seen it at the beginning of the race. We've seen it throughout the middle and now towards the end of the race as well. These drivers really doing anything that they can. But once again, it makes for a very entertaining race. As we can see now, again, Nikodem Wierzbicki and Jackson Asenge making contact, forcing them both to go off. And just the frustration you can see there from Nikodem Wierzbicki.
Yeah, look at that, within a couple of laps. He was not happy about it. We saw it about the reaction. Such is the harsh reality of motorsport. 1 minute you can be winning, a couple of seconds later you can be out and, well, out of the points, out of the money, out of the race pretty much as he is now. But the battle for the front. Tell you what, Dino Filippa, he's found something here. He's found some pace. As he's caught up to the leader, you can see 2/10 quicker in sector 2 on this lap. As now there's weaving going on to break the draft a lot stronger than in the GT cars in these LMP2s.
So right there too, like I said, this is definitely going to be the work cut out for all of the racing stewards for this race with the amount of incidents going on. But right now, it is the man who's been able to take advantage of a lot of the chaos, been able to thrive through it in this heat number 2. Dino Filippa so far been able to go up 4 spots from where he was on the grid, but now seeing closely behind them as well, we have a few drivers, a little bit of a gap between him and Alberto Senao. So Senao able to take advantage of an incident that happened earlier, able to avoid it, get through that, now sitting in 3rd place as well. But there we have Peter Zuba making up 15 positions to sit in 4th place. These guys, they are on the final lap, folks, so it is now or never. Toby Soriano has been leading the entirety of this heat number 2. So he was down, ended up in 15th position in heat number 1, got the pole position and has been walking away. But now his fellow countryman, Dino Filippa, he is not happy with 2nd place. He knows that he's out here for blood. He is out here to get that 1st place position. So here we go. Like we said, a lot of people, I agree with you. He's going to have to go full send right now as we go into the last sector of the track. Getting very aggressive, braking late, a little bit of a lockup right there.
Yeah, you can see him smiling away. He knew it was his shots. He knew he did one for the people. I just want to point out Peter Zuba up 15 positions from P19. That is what you call capitalizing from others' mistakes. But Toby Soriano takes the win in Heat 2.
So there we go, folks, as we see again the middle of the field. So right now it is Toby Soriano, Dino Filippa, and Alberto Senao, your top 3 drivers of heat number 2. But hey, we knew it was going to do it. We've seen Toby Soriano all day long, first out here in ACC and now coming out in iRacing. So what may have not been the best qualifying or even heat number 2, some of these guys that were sitting in the middle of the pack, we had so much chaos going on throughout heat number 2 that really left the door wide open for some of these guys to take advantage of it. Like we said, Peter Zuba ending up in 4th place, going up 15 positions as well. So it's been absolutely phenomenal day. The LMP2 cars out here at Barcelona-Catalunya. Definitely one of the craziest car track combinations. So we'll have to see as the results come in now exactly where these drivers leave standing. But nonetheless, a lot of blood, sweat, and tears were left out on the track today for AMX 5 Race 20. But there we see it. Your results are in. Toby Soriano, congratulations, getting that first place position, holding it all the way from the beginning of the grid. Dino Filippa able to come in second place here in heat number 2, as well as Alberto Senao avoiding some of those incidents, able to make it up into P3. So Peter Zuba, P4, Santiago Bastarrica in 5th place, Gaston Kulavi 6th, Ayrton Reutemann 7th place, Marcos Saavedra in 8th, Tomasimo 9th, William Baraviera, who was your heat number 1 winner, now dropping down to 10th place. Diego Villarreal 11th, Ralph Benitez 12th, Jackson Senje holding it in 13th, Avandro Dantas 14th, and Tim State rounding out that 15th place. So there are your points winners right there. Fastest lap, of course, going to Diego Pinto, who was having an amazing race until the battle got a little bit too heated between him and Ayrton Reutemann, sending them both off the track and unfortunately having to retire after that. So a lot of great battles out here, a lot going on all together, man. It is almost hard to keep up with the chaos in this heat. So just like that, we're going to be hearing from these drivers here very, very soon. So make sure that we will get them in the interview room. A lot to unpack here, absolutely. But like we said, that is what we love to see out here for AMX Season 5 racing. It has been heating up all season long. We are in the 5th week out here in AMX. So we'll have to see, as we're going to try and catch up real quick with your race winner, Toby Soriano. So we'll head over into the interview room really quick, see what's going through the mind of Tobias Soriano. So, well, while we're waiting for the interview room to get set up, like I said, we're going to try and catch in with as many drivers. So we love hearing from the drivers as always. Like we said earlier today, we did see Dino Filippa as well, was in the ACC race this morning, and now was able to come out here and battle it out, ending up in second place out there in heat number 2. So we'll see if we can catch up with Dino Filippa also here in the meantime. So we are here with Dino Filippa, an AMX veteran that we've seen plenty of times. Dino, congratulations on that second place in heat number 2. So coming into this, you were coming in here, you qualified down, not maybe as quite as much as we wanted, but we were looking at the timing scores and we've seen, less than half a second between a lot of the top 10 drivers. So knowing where you came in and qualifying, what was your mindset when you went into heat number 1?
Yes, my quality is not the best because I think I can improve more, but I don't train too much with the car, and I can't make a good lap. Well, on the hit one, the race was really close. All the guys are really fast, and I don't have too much space to overtake. And well, I have a little contact with Nico when I try to overtake, and that causes a lot of position on hit one. And well, I think it is good for the future race. And then I try to win, but Toby did a really good race.
So we've seen you also in the Assetto Corsa Competizione race earlier today. How difficult was it going from ACC and jumping into another race in iRacing with completely different car, completely different feel?
Yes, ACC race was really frustration because because this is my first race on ACC, and I don't train any lap. And well, the other thing is more difficult than iRacing race was this is open setup, and well, I don't have any setup, but well, this is a funny race. I have a good battle with Dantas, and I can't overtake him.
And one last question. So you were up towards the top near the entire heat number 2. You were in second place behind Toby Soriano. Did you start getting a little bit nervous once you started seeing the guys battling out right behind you? You know, there was a lot of racing incidents this time. Did that make you nervous seeing Diogo Pinto and Ayrton Reutemann being that aggressive, catching up to you?
Yes, I was seeing the relative, and I say, okay, if Diogo overtake Ayrton, this is a really bad thing for me, because Diogo is a monster on iRacing, and I think he can catch me. But well, when the spotter says me incident behind, I saw the relative, and I saw these guys are out, and I can focus all my race on catch Toby.
Okay, well, once again, congratulations on that second place there in heat number 2, as well as we hope to see you back next week. Once again, Dino Filippa from everyone here at AMX, congratulations, thank you, and we will see you next weekend.
Okay, thank you, Kevin, and all MX League, and we will see you on the next weekend. Bye.
So there we go, folks. We got to hear it from your P2 right there of Dino Filippa. So we had an Argentina 1-2 in heat number 2. So a lot of 2s, those guys leading the race nearly the entire second heat. But also, he was not the only one. We have here Toby Soriano. Congratulations on that heat 2 victory. So able to lead it all the way through and qualifying in P6. So what was the strategy going into heat number 2? Like we said, you finished on back down the grid in heat number 1. What was the strategy for that second heat?
Hi, Kevin. Thank you very much for the congrats. And the strategy was for me whole lapping all the race. I know Dino very much. We are big friends. We are from Argentina both. So I know him a lot, and I know that this race, I don't know how to say it, it will be intense. Let me put that word, intense. So my strategy was whole lapping all race.
So of course, like you just mentioned, you and Dino are both good friends. So was there any point that you thought, okay, I am in the lead, and now I may be having to battle it out with my friend. So how does that go through your mind when you are going to be battling out for first and second place with someone that you know so well?
It was a hell on my mind. So, as I said, I know Dino since 2015, I think, and we are always have the same battles, 1-2, 1-2, and I got him in a relative, catching me, and my head is crazy, man. And I made a mistake on the La Caixa. I thought the turn call, the turn 9, I think, and I see on the relative Dino 1.1, I think, and it goes crazy. My mind, he will catch me, and a lot of bad thoughts from the race.
Awesome. Well, like we said, once again, a big congratulations. It's always great to see the friendly feuds going on. So, Toby, thank you once again, and we hope to see you here next weekend.
Thank you, man. Thank you a lot.
All right, folks. Well, that looks like that's going to wrap up our race weekend. We are 5 weeks into this thing, but like we said, we have a few people starting to lead away in the championship points, but anything can happen. We're not even halfway through the season yet, and we got to see right there from some of the two best Argentinian drivers in AMX as well as in iRacing, the friendly feuds going on. Julian, what was your highlight of not only just the day, but more specifically, these LMP2 cars out here in Barcelona?
I mean, it's hard to pick one highlight. There were a lot of highlights in terms of battling, but also crashes. I would honestly like, what I really liked was how close it was. So maybe not exactly the battling. The battling got too close, you would argue, at some point, but they were nose to tail for 12 laps non-stop, especially in the midfield. Those midfield battles are really great. But if you look at the two races, I mean, I don't know what they were drinking between the two races. If you'd show me those two races, I would say these are not the same drivers. They are completely different, to be honest. I don't know what they had, but I would love more of it.
Absolutely. So one thing we did know coming into this second race of the day is when we're out at Barcelona-Catalunya track, it's always going to be a great time. So we were not disappointed. I know the fans out there watching at home, watching on Twitch and YouTube, were also not disappointed with things. So maybe not their favorite driver ending up on the podium, but nonetheless, it made for a very entertaining day out here for AMX Season 5. Make sure, once again, you follow all of our social medias for replays, updates, highlights, all of that as well. As check amxrace.com, go get the full schedule, and make sure that you come back next weekend. So next weekend, it's going to be a good one, a little bit different. We're going to be heading over to Brands Hatch in the Renault Clios, as well as bringing it back to the USA Talladega Super Speedway in the NASCAR Next Gen vehicles. So should absolutely be interesting next week to see what a lot of these road racers can do out on the oval, as well as maybe a few newcomers that may not really be participating in the road races that want to show their skills out on the oval. But nonetheless, we know it's going to be entertaining as always. So signing off for AMX Season 5 right here in Week 5. I am Kevin alongside Julian. We will see you all. Have a good night.
All right.